Chapter 495. It doesn't matter. Even if we can't catch Tang Jianghu trading goods, the sky-high debt he owes is enough to make him suffer. With such a large amount of money, he will be locked up for at least 10 or 20 years. When he comes out, he will already be an old man. Li Xiqing pressed his forehead against hers and chuckled. Do you think your man is no match for an old man? She gently pushed him and said, Be careful of Tang Menjing. Be careful of Tang Jianghu, especially Tang Menjing. I always feel that she suddenly became crazy. It's a bit weird. Li Xiqing had also considered this question, but at this moment, hearing her say it, he felt a bit amazed. Touching her hair, he sighed. Mrs. Li is getting better and better. Pfft, I've always been very strong. Is that so? How so? Let me see. With that, he reached out to touch her face. Here. Here. Or here. His big hand moved down, touching her neck and her chest. She blushed and slapped his hand away. Don't be serious. Pack up and go to the old house. All right, let's go back to the old house to sleep. You're annoying, I'm just sleeping. What are you thinking about? After sending Su Qianxi back to the old house to comfort her, he did not go to rest with her but called San Francisco. How is it? Already on board. Estimated to arrive at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Flight number is Konghang 3556. Before he finished, he heard the polite voice of the stewardess. My phone is off. I will call you when I land. Yes. Hanging up the phone, he called Xingyu. Send all the evidence of Tang Jianghu's illegal embezzlement and breach of contract to Xing Shiming. Contact the person in charge of Xingfeng and inform him of Tang Jianghu's whereabouts. Yes, boss. Li Xiqing hung up and immediately called Luo Zhan. Keep an eye on Tang Jianghu's movements at Kingstown Airport and wait for an opportunity to manage and arrange hunting. Okay. Li Xiqing also asked Tang Menjing to be more guarded, just in case. Tang Jianghu was the only one left in the Tang family. Without Tang Jianghu, the backbone, the Lu family was nothing to be afraid of. Once he was done with this and settled this matter, the wedding should be put on the agenda. Li Xiqing turned on the computer and looked at the scene that he had designed, curling his lips. He would take her to Ireland and give her the most beautiful wedding of her dreams. It must be unforgettable. Su Qianxi took Tang Menjing's mother's diary and sat on the edge of the bed. The diary recorded Tang Menjing's expectations for the baby in the first 3 months. Between the lines, it was full of maternal love and expectations for the baby. However, after writing for 3 months, he stopped and did not add anything else. Later, she was imprisoned by Li Xiqing, right? Or, had she found out that the child was not Li Xiqing's? Su Qianxi felt that she was a bit sad. She flipped the book, and the middle page was automatically opened. It could be seen that it was frequently flipped to this page, which was why there was such an obvious gap, and it automatically flipped to this page. On this page, there was a logo. It was a flame in the shape of a wolf's head, with a star in the center. The lines were clear, and they were drawn with a colorful pen. Chapter 496. Li Xiqing did not return all night. When Su Qianxi slept until midnight, she found that he did not come back. When she called him, his phone showed that it was busy. Looking out the window, the sky was bright, and the wind was a bit strong, making a swishing sound. Su Qianxi rarely got up so early. After washing, she went out of the living room. It was the first time that Li Jinan saw his sister-in-law so early and said hello. Hi, sister-in-law, so early? Yeah. Su Qianxi took out her cell phone and dialed his number again. Li Jinan leaned over and asked, Call my brother? Yes, your second brother did not come back last night, and no one answered the phone. Maybe he is busy with work. Don't worry, he will not fool around outside. Li Jinan opened a bottle of Coke. Our brothers are very self-disciplined. I am not worried about that. I am worried about something else. The phone could not be reached again, and Su Qianxi panicked even more. She simply called Qingyu. After about a dozen rings, the phone was picked up, but it was a male voice. Su Qianxi was dazed and looked at it. It was 6:00 in the morning, and it was Qingyu. Hello? I am looking for Qingyu. She is sleeping. The male voice was a bit hoarse, and he added, this is Rong Rui. Oh, that's all right. Let her continue to sleep. Okay, I'm hanging up. But then, Su Qianxi thought of something and shouted, wait. Is there anything else? Rong Rui's voice was a bit sleepy, a bit low. Obviously, he was still in the room. You and Tang Menjing should have no contact, right? In the future, you should not help Tang Menjing or the Tang family, right? After a silence, about 3 or 4 seconds, Rong Rui said, speaking of it, you are still my cousin. I hurt you before, sorry, but I have completely broken up with that woman. If you need any help, you can find me. Now, I am Qingyu's boyfriend. Shameless, who is your girlfriend? Qingyu's voice came over the phone, a bit muffled, obviously under the quilt. Rong Rui chuckled and said, if there is nothing else, I am hanging up. Goodbye, cousin. With his affirmative answer, she suddenly felt a lot more assured. However, if she could not find Li Xicheng, she would not feel at ease. If he couldn't find Qingyu, what about Luo Zhan? Su Qianxi was just trying her luck to find Luo Zhan. She did not expect Luo Zhan to answer the phone so quickly, and his voice was very clear. Hello, sister-in-law. Luo Zhan, do you know where my husband is? I don't know, but he must be busy at this time. He will be home soon. Don't wait for him. Go to sleep first. Luo Zhan said the sentence as if he was reciting it. At the end, he added, second brother asked me to tell you not to worry. Just protect yourself and your child. What's the situation? Another familiar voice came into her ears. It was Louis Han. Luo Zhan looked up at him, his hands still busy on the keyboard, and said, not bad. Want to eat? Okay, I want a sandwich. Thank you, Auntie Lu. Su Qianxi was dazed. When did they live together? Louis Han was making breakfast for him. Chapter 497. Holding the phone, Su Qianxi looked at Li Jinan and asked, where did he go? Inexplicably, Su Qianxi's heart was indescribably flustered. Li Jinan saw that she was not right, looked at the phone, and said, today is Saturday. If you don't have class, go back and sleep for a while. When my brother comes back, I will ask him to see you. I can't sleep. I always feel that something will happen to him. Uncle, can you take me to him? Li Jinan heard that and laughed, saying, didn't you just call Luo Zhan? Since he has arranged it, then nothing will happen. I still trust my second brother's ability. I believe it too, but don't think too much. If that guy knows that you are cursing him like this, he will not be happy. It was just spring, and the weather was still very cold. Li Jinan was wearing a tight black shirt, drinking a frozen Coke. The expression on his face seemed to be saying that Su Qianxi was thinking too much. Su Qianxi pursed her lips and went into the room with the phone. Seeing that Su Qianxi had left, the expression on Li Jinan's face gradually became serious. He picked up the remote pager that had been hidden in his palm and whispered, come back soon. Sister-in-law is very worried about you. Kingstown Airport, a flashy and luxurious yellow Porsche sports car had been parked near the terminal for several minutes. In it sat a man wrapped in black clothes, wearing sunglasses and a cap. He was looking at the terminal entrance. In the back seat of the Porsche, Li Xicheng transferred the last document with his mobile phone, pressed the headset, and said, got it. Tell her not to worry about me. I will be back soon. Isn't it just Tang Jianghu? Can he grow wings and fly away? Why do you have to keep an eye on him? If I don't get rid of him, I can't rest easy. His intention yesterday was obvious. He wanted to do something to her. I don't want anything to happen to her. You keep an eye on her. It's best not to let her stay in the room alone. You can ask her to come out of the living room to chat. I'll leave it to you, Jean Nan. As soon as he said that, he suddenly saw someone running out of the terminal with a bag, followed by several men in black. The person who was being chased was slightly fat, wearing a suit, a hat, sunglasses, and a mask. Just by looking at his figure and attire, who else could it be but Tang Jianghu? That's enough. Take care of her, Li Xiqing said, urging the driver in front of him. Catch up. The yellow Porsche started up, and a loud sound could be heard. Tang Jianghu immediately looked over and was shocked. He quickly ran, and soon, they were out of the highway. A nearby patrolman saw this and immediately shouted, "What are you doing?" One of the men chasing Tang Jianghu took out his police badge and shouted, "Police, that's a wanted criminal. Arrest him." The man turned back and ran as fast as he could. The wind was strong today, and his hat was blown away, revealing his white hair. He was even more certain that it was Tang Jianghu. The yellow Porsche sped like the wind and made a huge screeching noise as it drifted in front of the man. Tang Jianghu immediately braked. Unable to escape, he actually wanted to jump over the fence to escape. A row of people quickly rushed up. One of the criminal police pushed him down and handcuffed him immediately. Seeing this, many people let out a sigh of relief. However, after lifting his hat, mask, and sunglasses, they found that his nose and eyes were not the same as Tang Jianghu's at all. Camouflage. Li Xiqing felt a burst of anger in his chest. He couldn't help looking at the door of the terminal. There was a slightly chubby figure wrapped up like a dumpling, covering his face and walking very fast with a bag in his hand. With a cold look, he shouted, "There he is. Catch up." Dash. Chapter 498. The yellow Porsche turned in an instant, and the beautiful sound of the engine went straight at the bloated figure. The real Tang Jianghu's footsteps were even faster, and he immediately started running. Tang Jianghu immediately rushed to the front, crossed the railing, and entered the road inside. The yellow Porsche stopped, and Li Xiqing immediately got out and ran after him. Although he had not trained with the army for many years, he still had the foundation, and he ran as fast as the criminal police chasing him. Seeing Li Xiqing getting closer and closer, Tang Jianghu became more and more panicked. Finally, he gritted his teeth. When he was ready to fight with Li Xiqing, a gust of wind passed by, accompanied by the sound of tires rubbing against the ground. "Get in the car." A woman's voice was deliberately suppressed, but Li Xiqing vaguely felt it was a bit familiar. The woman was wearing a black knitted hat, long curly hair, and a large pair of sunglasses covering half of her face. Tang Jianghu finally let out a sigh of relief, opened the door of the back seat, and sat in the car. Just when the door was about to close, Li Xiqing grabbed the door with his big hand, panting, and reached out to pull Tang Jianghu out. Tang Jianghu was scared out of his wits. He grabbed his hand and shouted, "Drive, drive quickly." The car quickly started, and Li Xiqing was dragged by the car, but his hand was still very steady. With the help of the car, Li Xiqing actually wanted to get in the car. "Idiot!" The woman in the front seat cursed. Li Xiqing subconsciously looked up and saw a man and a woman sitting in front of him. The driver was a man who looked very tall, wearing a military green cap and a mask, only showing his eyes, staring coldly at Li Xiqing in the rearview mirror. Just a glance, and then Li Xiqing heard the sound of a gun being loaded. Shocked, Li Xiqing immediately let go of the car. The speed was too fast, and he lost his balance and was thrown out of the car. "Mr. Li." The driver immediately got out and ran over. Li Xiqing was thrown out and rolled twice on the ground. When he came back to himself, the black car had gone far away. "Are you okay?" Zhou Qin helped Li Xiqing up and asked. Li Xiqing patted the dust on his body and shook his head. "I'm fine. Your face and hands are still fine." If the second wife knew about this, she would be worried sick. Li Xiqing then felt the burning pain on his body. His left cheek, in particular, looked as if it had been burnt. The skin on his palms had been abraded, and his body was riddled with holes. Mud and dust were stuck to his body. But at this moment, he had no time to care about himself. Looking at the black car that had gone far away, he silently wrote down the license plate number, reached for his cell phone in his pocket, and pressed it, only to find that it was out of battery. "Give me your phone." Li Xiqing reached out his hand. His palm was scratched and oozing yellow and red sticky liquid, which looked a bit hideous. Zhou Chen quickly took out his phone and entered the license plate number. "Ask Luo Zhan to check this license plate number and all the routes they have taken today. Keep an eye on them. There are not only wanted drug dealers but also guns." Zhou Chen's expression turned serious. "Yes." Li Xiqing returned to the car and took a deep breath. Seeing himself in a mess, he said, "Let's go back to the company and change before going back. It's too ugly to go back like this." Pfft. Chapter 499. Aren't there more people in the company? They are all at work at this time. Today is Saturday. Hurry up. My wife is waiting for me to go back. Oh, what's the hurry? I'm reversing the car, but you'd better go to the hospital. Look at your face. Li Xiqing looked in the rearview mirror. There was at least a 3-finger-sized scratch on his left cheek, with blood and a piece of skin. Well, it was really ugly. Okay, go to the hospital. Okay. He first went to the hospital to deal with the wound, and then went to the company's cloakroom to change clothes. Just when he was changing clothes, he found that there were many scratches on his body. No wonder it was burning everywhere. Oh no, he had thought that he could finally make out with his wife when she was more than 3 months pregnant. Now, he did not even dare to take off his clothes. If she saw it, she would be heartbroken. Li Xiqing suddenly felt that he should not have gotten involved in this mess. He did not catch Tang Jianghu, and now he could not even touch his wife. Alas, however, it was also because of this fight that Li Xiqing was more certain of his original guess. There was a drug gang behind Tang Jianghu. The 2 people sitting in front and the man driving should be the gangster who held Su Qianxi at the gate of Star City last time, and the woman was undoubtedly the accomplice who rescued him last time. In this way, it seemed that it was more difficult to touch Tang Jianghu. This drug gang was like an iron wall. The criminal police had besieged them many times, but they had not hurt them. How could he, a businessman, touch them? Unless he also became a part of it. Li Xiqing's movement of changing clothes became slower and slower, and there were more and more thoughts in his mind. It seemed feasible. However, if Grandpa knew it, he would definitely be so angry that he would be hospitalized. But should he just sit around and wait for death? Turning on the phone, he received a call from Luo Zhan as soon as he received a signal. There is no such license plate number. The license plate number is fake. The number you saw must have been tampered with. Luo Zhan's voice was firm. Li Xiqing trusted Luo Zhan's ability very much. If he said it was fake, it must not be real. The drug gang was so cautious. No wonder the police could not catch them after so many raids. Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes and said unconsciously, "Nothing ventured, nothing gained." Hearing Li Xiqing's words, Luo Zhan suddenly felt a sense of crisis. "Hey, what do you want?" "Nothing. You didn't sleep well last night, right? Go to bed. I will call you when I get the news." "Hey, Li Xiqing," Luo Zhan said, "You." Li Xiqing did not wait for him to finish and hung up the phone. Fastening the last cufflink, Li Xiqing put on his coat and quickly left the company. When he arrived at the old house, he saw Su Qianxi looking around at the door from a distance. Seeing his car coming back, Su Qianxi immediately ran out of the house, greeted him, and reached out to knock on the window. He coughed and looked in the rearview mirror. After making sure the bruises on his face did not look too serious, he opened the door. Zhou Chen chuckled, "Mrs. Li, he lost to someone and was beaten like this. You have to discipline him in the future. F***ck off." Li Xiqing slammed the door, and Zhou Chen laughed and went to park the car. Chapter 500. Li Xiqing also had a bruise on his waist. Being hugged by her, he felt a burning pain. However, he did not show it on his face and whispered, "The phone ran out of power and turned off." "What happened to you?" "I fell." "You fell on your face?" Su Qianxi looked at his handsome and flawless face and felt uncomfortable. She reached out and gently touched it. "Does it hurt? Let me put some ointment on it." "I've already gone to the hospital." "It doesn't matter. It's just a bruise." Su Qianxi looked at his hand. On his palm, there was almost no place that was unharmed. It was bloody, with skin peeling off, and there were small grooves made by sand. It hurt. Su Qianxi's heart ached. She pulled his sleeve and walked into the room. Li Jinan was sitting on the sofa playing with a car model. Seeing him being pulled in by Su Qianxi, he gloated and sighed. Some people just won't give up until they see the end. Su Qianxi paused, looked at Li Xiqing and said, "Where did you go?" God knew she had been worried all morning. His heart was always in his throat, as though it was being hung up to his throat. She called Luo Zhan, but he did not know anything, and Li Jinan refused to say a word. She originally thought that Li Jinan must not know, but now it was clear that they had colluded to hide it from her. "Nothing. Don't worry. I'm fine." Li Xiqing gently squeezed her palm, his voice low and slow. Su Qianxi looked up at him. After a long while, she squeezed his palm hard. The pain immediately made him gasp. "Ouch!" Su Qianxi pushed him hard, looking angry. Then she turned into the room and slammed the door. Li Xiqing was a bit dumbfounded. Seeing the blood oozing out of his palm again, he felt a little helpless. "You deserve it." Li Jinan did not have the slightest sympathy. He threw the car model away and whispered, "How is it? Go to your room and take the medicine box." Li Jinan couldn't help laughing. He picked up the medicine box and took Li Xiqing to his room. Li Jinan's room was a classic military room. The quilt was neatly folded into tofu cubes, and 2 hunting air guns were hung on the wall, crossed over each other. Further to the side were the national emblem and the national flag, followed by a large army green photo. As soon as Li Xiqing came in, he began to take off his clothes. Li Jinan took a step back and looked at him in horror. "Brother, don't mess around. Sister-in-law is still next door." Li Xiqing glanced at him coldly and threw his jacket at his face. "Close the door." Then he took off his shirt, revealing the bruises with blood oozing out. "TSK. Li Jinan furrowed his brows and took out the ointment. "What happened to you? No wonder you didn't dare to return to sister-in-law's room." Li Xiqing told her the truth. In the end, he also told her about his speculation and decision in the office. Li Jinan pressed his hand hard. Li Xiqing gasped, turned his head, and said in a low voice, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? You actually thought of doing this kind of thing? If Grandpa and Dad know, they will break your legs." Li Xiqing also knew the seriousness of the matter. He turned his head and slowly said, "I just pretended to trade with them. After all, the Li family's influence in Kingstown and the country is not weak. If..." Chapter 501. Li Xiqing was speechless. Indeed, this was not a foolproof plan. However, what should he do to protect his family? Now he could basically confirm that the people who wanted to kill Su Qianxi in the capital last time were the 2 who were driving today. Even he felt that the female voice was a bit familiar. However, he could not remember who it was. The reason why they wanted to kill Su Qianxi was very likely that Su Qianxi had seen or remembered their true faces. They thought Su Qianxi was a threat, so, however, who could it be? The capital. Kingstown. Li Xiqing immediately thought of someone. He picked up his phone and dialed Rong Haiyue's number. After the phone rang a dozen times, it was picked up. There was a very loud and neat slogan on Rong Haiyue's phone, as well as the sound of soldiers marching. "Li Xiqing. Listening to the voice, it seemed that he was a bit surprised. Yes, Mr. Rong. Rong Haiyue heard this title, his eyes became a bit dim, but he quickly smiled again. What's the matter? Are you in the capital? Yes, watching the training of the new recruits. Excuse me, where is your daughter now? Isn't she with you? Rong Haiyue said subconsciously, but quickly reacted. You mean Anna? Yes. She went on a tour with Bo Xiao in the UK these days, and it will be more than a week before she comes back. Tour? Yes, she and Bo Xiao are both music students. They formed a band, which is quite famous. Now, they are on a business trip again. When did they go? The afternoon flight the day before yesterday, about 5 or 6 p.m. Why do you ask? Remember the last time we went to the capital, we met in the hotel? How could he forget? Rong Haiyue's eyes were sharp and he asked, do you suspect Anna? Still investigating, but this possibility is not ruled out. Impossible, she did not move. He originally wanted to say that she had no motive, but after all, she was his daughter, and he knew Rong Anna very well. If she knew that Su Qianxi was Rong Haiyue's daughter, she might really be hostile, but this hostility would certainly not constitute killing intent. Rong Haiyue hesitated and said, she did not know that Su Qianxi was my daughter. I did not tell her. That's not the only reason, Li Xiqing interrupted him, not planning to explain. Now I have no evidence, but for Qianxi's safety, I hope you can keep it a secret and not tell your other daughter about my suspicions. Of course. I'm going to Kingstown next week. We can talk face to face then. Sure, see you then. Goodbye. Hanging up the phone, Li Xiqing subconsciously thought of Bo Xiao, whom he had met at the Rong family's door. They were both tall, but dressed in different styles. Especially last time, Su Qianxi looked at Bo Xiao a little too much, and she was attacked that afternoon. There were many things that couldn't be linked together, but once they were put together, they became very clear. Li Xiqing became more and more suspicious of Rong Anna and Bo Xiao, but where was the evidence? Without evidence, everything was just empty talk. Li Jinnan's gaze on Li Xiqing became deeper and deeper. In the end, there was even a hint of viciousness. Chapter 502. Li Xiqing's eyes gradually calmed down. He put on his clothes, opened the door, and went back to his room. As soon as he entered, he saw a small bump on the bed. He went forward and gently lifted the quilt. At a glance, he saw Su Qianxi's small head with messy hair. Su Qianxi opened her eyes, which were red and a bit wet. He reached out and lifted her up, whispering, "What's wrong?" Su Qianxi ignored him, slapped his hand away, turned around, and continued to lie down. He took off his shoes, got in, and pretended to be confused. Is there a treasure under the quilt, huh? Suddenly, he climbed onto her body and looked at her face. His tone was pleasantly surprised as he said, "There's really a treasure." What a beautiful treasure. Su Qianxi smiled, but deliberately kept a straight face. She reached out and pushed him away, saying, "Go away. I still want to see the treasure." "I won't go." He deliberately shrank in her direction and reached out to hold her firmly. Su Qianxi twisted her body, turned around, and reached out to untie his clothes. Li Xiqing froze, held her hand, and said, "I haven't taken a shower yet." Su Qianxi did not care. After breaking away from his hand, she untied his coat. He could not win against her, so he simply lay flat and held her in his arms, whispering, "Sleep, okay? I didn't sleep all night. Let me see." Su Qianxi's voice was a bit choked. "How badly are you hurt? Why don't you dare to show me?" Li Xiqing heard that and knew that he could not hide it anymore. He whispered, "It's just a scratch. It's okay. Get up, let me see." He still could not win against her. He could not bear to see her cry, so he had to sit up and take off his clothes. Su Qianxi saw red abrasions on his body, some of which were a little red and swollen, but fortunately, they were not serious. Finally relieved, she reached out and pressed on one of his skin. Li Xiqing frowned and looked at her without resistance. "You deserve it," she said, and then reached out and pressed him down. "Don't take a shower. It's just been applied. Go to sleep." Being seen through, Li Xiqing was no longer afraid. He took her in his arms and kissed her. Su Qianxi was kissed suddenly, but she had long been used to his surprise. Putting her arms around his neck, she responded awkwardly. Li Xiqing was a bit surprised by her response. The kiss deepened, and the tip of his tongue hooked her lips. Gradually, his lips moved down to her chin, her neck, and her collarbone. He was like a devout believer that was prostrating himself in worship of his most loyal faith. Su Qianxi's heart fluttered, and her breathing became more rapid. She reached out and pushed him. There's no injury there." Li Xiqing's lips were against her skin, his voice a bit muffled. "We can continue." "Pervert." She blushed. Li Xiqing pushed her blouse up and pressed it against her body, whispering seductively, "I am a pervert who only has feelings for you." She held his neck tighter, trembling so hard that even her toes curled up. "Finally, it's been more than 3 months. I've endured so much." "Ah. Don't bite there. It's uncomfortable, coming. Dash." Chapter 503. Coming. Li Xiqing had never restrained himself like today, being careful not to hurt her and the baby. However, after all, he had been a vegetarian for many days. When the feeling came, he had no time to care about the pain in his hands and fell on the bed with her. From the beginning to the end, he did not touch her belly. The belly of the 3-month-old fetus was already bulging, bigger than that of a mother with a single child. Li Xiqing looked at the belly and couldn't help but reach out and touch it. "Do you think it's possible that it's a boy and a girl in your belly?" "I don't know." Su Qianxi saw his infatuated expression and smiled. "It will take 4 months to find out, and the doctor will not tell the gender, for fear that you will value boys more than girls." Li Xiqing looked at her belly, left and right, up and down, and couldn't help smiling. Finally, he directly lay down next to her, held her in his arms, and whispered, "I hope it's a boy and a girl. If not, 2 girls will do." "Did boys offend you?" "Boys are hard to take care of. I heard that my mother raised us 3 brothers, and she was furious." The 3 brothers were all mischievous. Among them, Li Xiqing was the most rebellious, followed by Li Jinnan. Although Li Beixing looked obedient on the surface, he was actually full of evil tricks, even worse than Li Xiqing and Li Jinnan. If his wife raised 2 boys, and the 2 boys were like them, it would be terrible. If it's really 2 boys, can you still abort it? Su Qianxi pinched his nose. "It's the same whether it's a boy or a girl." When Li Xiqing was about to say something, Su Qianxi pinched his mouth and looked dignified. "Now, sleep." Yes, sleep. He had not slept all night, and he had been tense all the time. He was already exhausted. He fell asleep comfortably with his wife in his arms. When he woke up, Su Qianxi was nowhere to be seen. Glancing at the small alarm clock on the bedside table, he realized that he had slept until 8:00 in the evening. Li Xiqing patted his head, picked up the phone on the bed, and saw that there were dozens of missed calls. As soon as he picked it up, Qing Yu's phone was connected. "Boss." "Yeah." Li Xiqing responded and stretched his waist. However, it pulled at the wound on his body, and the pain made him put his hand back. Tang Menjing ran away. At 3 in the afternoon, she injured a nurse and ran out disguised as one. Hearing that, Li Xiqing's eyes, which were still in a trance, suddenly focused and turned into a beam of sharp and clear light. "Didn't I tell you to strengthen the defense?" "Yes, it's reinforced, but, did you catch him?" "He ran away. There's someone waiting for him outside." "He went straight into the car, Shirti." Qingyu did not dare to speak. He seemed to have calmed down and asked, "Where is Rongrui?" "Rongrui?" Why did she suddenly mention Rongrui? It's best if this has nothing to do with him. Otherwise, he would not care about his relationship with Qingyu. Qingyu knew how serious it was. She was shocked and immediately said, "No, Rongrui has already broken up with her. It can't be him." Chapter 504. Qingyu suddenly felt uncomfortable. She had worked so hard for 3 years to get this position. She did not know how many corpses she had stepped on. As soon as Rongrui came over, his salary was the same as hers? No. This was too unfair. Qingyu coughed. This is not in line with the rules, right? Li Xiqing seemed to see what she was thinking and said, "I'll double your year-end bonus." "Yes, boss. I will complete the task." "Well, thank you." For the next week, Li Xiqing was very busy. First, it was a cooperation project between the Li Group and Australia. Second, the acquisition of the Tang Group had not been completed. In addition, Tang Jianghu had not been found and caught, which was undoubtedly a big stone in Li Xiqing's heart. However, it was worth rejoicing that in just 9 days, 2 drug gang transactions were cracked. The value of each case was as high as millions. The combined value of the 2 cases was as high as tens of millions. In the past 2 years, the cooperation between the Li Group and the police had become closer. Weibo and the news had reported it, and the stock of the Li Group continued to rise and appreciate in this short period of time. However, seeing the Li Group becoming more and more famous, Su Qianxi's worry did not decrease but increased. Today was the day of the prenatal checkup. Li Xiqing got up early and went to the study to deal with some affairs. Then at about 9 o'clock, he got up and went back to the room. He thought it would take a lot of effort to wake Su Qianxi up. Unexpectedly, when he returned to the room, Su Qianxi had already gone into the bathroom to freshen up. Looking for clothes in the closet, when Su Qianxi came out, it was already 2 minutes later. Her belly had begun to show. Su Qianxi's 4-month-old belly looked bigger than the average 4-month-old mother. Li Xiqing looked at the belly and couldn't help smiling. He went forward to hold her, his voice low, mellow, and gentle. "So early today?" Su Qianxi puffed her cheeks and said, "Help me change. It's time for the prenatal checkup." "Well, wear a skirt. This one is loose and looks good." Li Xiqing picked up a spring floral skirt. "Raise your hand." Su Qianxi obediently raised her hand and looked at him with a pair of big almond-shaped eyes, blinking. Obviously, she had something to say. He pretended not to notice and focused on helping her put on her clothes. Finally, he zipped her up and said, "Done." "Hubby." "Yes?" Li Xiqing took the jacket next to him and put it on her, casually responding. "Don't you think the Li Corporation is too high profile now? It was right to assist the police in fighting criminal gangs, but now that everyone knew that the Li Corporation worked closely with the police, wouldn't it be too eye-catching? The criminal gangs will definitely target us and take revenge on us. As the saying goes, the bird that sticks out gets shot." Recently, the Li Group had been in the limelight so much that she was worried. Chapter 505. Su Qianxi blinked and did not understand what he meant. "I have ruined the Tang family, and Tang Jianghu will never let it go. Besides, even without Tang Jianghu's participation, the drug gang has already targeted us." His voice paused, and his eyes flashed a few rays of light. "Or, they are targeting you. Do you remember the gunshot attack in the capital last time?" Su Qianxi's eyes narrowed slightly, looking at Li Xiqing. Unexpectedly calm, she asked, "Are they in the same group?" "Yes," Li Xiqing nodded. "Be careful of Bo Xiao and Rong Anna. I suspect that the man who took you hostage last time was Bo Xiao." Su Qianxi heard that, and there was no surprise on her face. Obviously, she had already thought of this possibility. Li Xiqing reached out and pulled her into his arms, whispering, "You also guessed it?" "Yes, I thought about this possibility. They were afraid that I would recognize them, so when I was in the capital, they wanted to kill me. Li Xiqing's eyes had a few glimmers of appreciation. He nodded and said, later, I sent someone to investigate them and even follow them for a period of time, but they were very cautious, always appearing and disappearing mysteriously, and often went in and out of the deep alleys, shaking off our people. Until now, no evidence has been found. The enemy is in the dark, and we are in the light. This gang can fight with the police for so long and still be safe. They are definitely not weak. Instead of waiting for death, it is better to take the initiative to show our attitude. We are a private company. Shaping the image of the Li family is not only good for the reputation of the Li family, but also the higher our image in the minds of the netizens and citizens, the more attention the government will pay. In addition, with the identity of grandpa, dad, and brother, no matter how bold the gang is, they will not dare to attack us easily. On the contrary, they will be very afraid. Li Xiqing was very confident. His eyes were sparkling, and his handsome face was full of the glow of victory. I see. Su Qianxi was a little dazed, but she roughly understood the meaning. Li Xiqing smiled, reached out and touched her hair, and said, you don't need to understand. You just need to know that every decision I make will ensure that you and your family will be protected. He was waiting. When Tang Jianghu couldn't help but make a move, when he couldn't help but expose himself in front of everyone's eyes, then they would take the opportunity to catch him in one fell swoop. Tang Jianghu, Rong Anna, or Bo Shao, as long as one of these three people fell into the hands of him or the police, then he would have a breakthrough. At that time, they could be completely solved, and Li Xiqing could really rest assured. Su Qianxi heard Li Xiqing's words and looked up at his face. Noticing that she looked up, Li Xiqing looked down and saw her big round eyes blinking. She asked, what about you? Her voice was soft, and he reached out to hold her hand. Curling his lips, he said in a deep voice, I will be fine, too. I was scared to death when I couldn't find you last time. I thought something had happened to you. Chapter 506. As he spoke, his gaze became obscure and his lips curled into a mischievous smile. He kissed the corner of her lips and said in a low voice, you can punish me however you want. Su Qianxi blushed and reached out to pat him. You wish. Li Xiqing caught her hand and teased, so there's no need for punishment. Pfft, if there is a next time, I will punish you to sleep on the floor and not on my bed. That's too cruel. Li Xiqing frowned, looking like he had suffered a lot. It's that serious? Su Qianxi smiled, feeling a bit proud. Hugging his neck, she kissed him on the lips and said, so you have to be careful in the future. Don't act on your own. Remember to report to me before you act, so that I don't worry about you for nothing. Yes, ma'am. His voice was low and soft, with a smile on his lips. His eyes were full of love. Su Qianxi's heart was about to melt. Blushing, she looked away and pretended to be calm. Now, go to the hospital for a prenatal checkup. He held her hand and put his other hand around her waist, saying softly, yes, ma'am. Humph, don't think that I will be lenient next time. You wish. At the hospital, after all the tests were done, an old doctor adjusted his glasses and told them that there were 2 placentas and 2 fetal hearts in the uterus of the pregnant woman. In other words, they were fraternal twins. Although he had already known that there were 2 children, hearing the news, Li Xiqing was still dazed. In a pair of cold and dark eyes, there was a little surprise and astonishment. His face, which had been calm since he entered the hospital, slowly became full of surprise. Fraternal twins, 2 fetal hearts, 2 placentas. Li Xiqing repeated this sentence, his heart racing. An indescribable emotion suddenly appeared from the deepest part of his body. 2 children. Fraternal twins? Repeating it again, Li Xiqing's eyes were as dark as the night sky, and at this moment, they were even more profound and bright. Did I hear it right? Su Qianxi looked into his eyes, which were even more dazzling at this moment. Curling her lips, she nodded in confirmation. Li Xiqing got the confirmation, and his eyes became even more misty. He suddenly laughed, reached out, and pulled her into his arms. His arms tightened as he hugged her. He deliberately lowered his voice and said, "Amazing, my wife is amazing." Su Qianxi reached out and touched his trembling hand, chuckling. Facing the teasing eyes of the doctors, she whispered with a blush, "So many people are watching. Be normal." "Yes." He responded loudly, unable to contain his joy. He let go of her and kissed her on the cheek. The smile on his face seemed to be trying hard to be contained, but it unconsciously became wider and wider. His uncontrollable laughter was low and moving. It was the first time that Su Qianxi had seen Li Xiqing like this. He could not hide his joy, and he could not control his emotions. He was really, like a fool. She couldn't help pursing her lips and looking at him with a blush. Li Xiqing's eyes were shining. He looked down at her lower abdomen, gently stroking it with his big palm. She did not know whether he was talking to her or whispering to her stomach, "Wait for me." Then he strode out of the clinic. "Where are you going?" "To make a call." Chapter 507. The phone rang a dozen times, but no one answered. Just when it was about to hang up automatically, the phone vibrated slightly. There was a rustling sound and heavy breathing. Oh Ming's voice came quickly. "Li Xiqing?" His voice seemed to be in a trance and drunk. Li Xiqing frowned, swallowed the good news that was about to come out of his mouth, and asked, "What are you doing?" "Li Xiqing, Li Xiqing." Oh Ming's voice was heavy, and vaguely, there was a bit of a crying tone. "Li Xiqing, I..." He did not say it, but actually whimpered. Li Xiqing was shocked. His soft face suddenly tightened, and his cold temperament was revealed in an instant. He calmly said, "Where are you?" The first sentence was not to ask what happened, not to ask what was wrong, but to ask where he was. Oh Ming's throat was even more choked, but he could not speak. However, the sad voice belonged to a man, which was particularly shocking. Li Xiqing's face tightened, and he walked in without saying a word. Shuang Yu, who was tall and straight, stood next to Su Qianxi. Seeing Li Xiqing coming over, she nodded to him. The doctor was telling Su Qianxi some things to pay attention to. Su Qianxi's face was full of the glory of maternal love, listening patiently. Oh Ming's voice gradually became smaller, and he said, "I am in the villa on Xishan." The villa on Xishan, where Oh Ming kept Yu Lily. Li Xiqing's eyes were covered with a layer of haze. Oh Ming's appearance must have something to do with Yu Lily. But to be able to force Oh Ming like this, Yu Lily's ability was much greater than he thought. Li Xiqing did not ask much and said, "I will be there soon." Then he hung up the phone. Su Qianxi looked over and found that Li Xiqing's mood suddenly became a lot worse. She was shocked, and the doctor happened to be at the end of the story. After a few words, Su Qianxi agreed and went forward to hold Li Xiqing's hand. She whispered, "What's wrong?" "Something happened to Oh Ming. I have to go and see." Li Xiqing's voice was very soft, but his mood was definitely not relaxed. "I will send you back first." "No, you go ahead. Shuang Yu and Ada are there." Shuang Yu always followed Su Qianxi and did not move half a step away. "I'll take you back first," Li Xiqing insisted. After sending her to the car, he asked Ada to drive back to the old house. Along the way, Li Xiqing was a little absent-minded. She reached out and touched his hand, whispering, "What's wrong with Oh Ming?" Li Xiqing shook his head. "I don't know, but I've never seen him like that." "What did it look like?" Su Qianxi was very curious, but seeing Li Xiqing's pursed lips, she did not ask more. When they arrived at the old house, Shuang Yu and Su Qianxi got out of the car together. Just as he was about to follow, Su Qianxi pushed him in. "You go find Oh Ming. I'm already home. You don't have to send me." For Li Xiqing, Oh Ming and Luo Zhan were the closest people to him besides his family, especially Oh Ming. Although they were not brothers, they were more like brothers. For someone as powerful as Oh Ming to make Li Xiqing so worried, it must not be a small matter. Li Xiqing was pushed back, nodded, and looked at Shuang Yu. Take care of her. Chapter 508. In the luxuriously decorated European-style room, the complicated classical curtains blocked all the light. The light in the room was dim, and there were bottles of wine lying on the floor beside the man in a disorderly manner. On the big bed in the middle of the room, a large amount of blood was shocking. The whole room was filled with the smell of alcohol and blood, which was disgusting. Oh Ming leaned against the edge of the bed, still holding a bottle of red wine in his hand. His thin beige shirt was stained with blood. His eyes were hazy from drunkenness, and he could clearly see the tall and straight figure in front of him. You are here. Oh Ming chuckled, but tears rolled down in an instant. Lao air, huh? Li Xiqing could never have imagined that he would see such a scene. Bloody, hideous, and embarrassed. At that moment, Oh Ming didn't have any of his usual high spirits. This was clearly a toad in dire straits. His first reaction was to check Oh Ming. Are you hurt? Li Xiqing pulled his clothes and found that his muscles were very smooth. There was no trace of blood at all. Oh Ming pushed him away and said, It's not me, it's you. This blood is from you. Li Xiqing was shocked, but his heart was instantly relieved. A pair of dark eyes looked at him, unspeakably cold, and asked word by word, She is dead? You killed her? With so much blood, even if she was not dead, she had lost half of her life. However, how could Oh Ming bear it? He liked you Lily so much. Oh Ming's eyelids were half open, and he took a long breath and smiled. That blood is my child. My child is gone, and I lost it. What do you mean? Li Xiqing looked at him, took his bottle away, and threw it aside. That woman is pregnant? Now, she has a miscarriage? She wanted to break up with me. She took all the money. All the money she took from me all these years, she actually recorded it all. She threw the account book to me and said that she would pay me back what she owed me. Pfft. Oh Ming closed his eyes heavily, and tears streamed down his cheeks. Then, you hit her? Ha, hit her? How can I bear to? Oh Ming reached out to touch the wine bottle, his hands shaking terribly. Li Xiqing quickly grabbed his hand and looked at him coldly. Then why is there so much blood? There's so much blood. Can the child survive? Oh Ming's hands trembled even more. Looking at Li Xiqing, he held his head and shook his head hard. I didn't know she was pregnant. If I had known, would not have treated her like that. I didn't mean it, but, you, put her on the bed? Was that why there was so much blood on the bed? Oh Ming didn't say anything. He just stared at him. Such an attitude was tantamount to tacit approval. You. Li Xiqing suddenly found that he did not know what to say. He wanted to scold him, but seeing him like this, he could not say anything. Where are they now? Chapter 509. I've told you long ago that this woman is an ungrateful wretch. How many times have I advised you not to provoke her? You. Li Xiqing looked away irritably. Where is she now? Hospital. She doesn't want to see me. She hates me. What should I do? She wanted to break up with me. After this incident, I can no longer keep her, Xiqing. Li Xiqing was silent for a moment before saying, Now, change your clothes and go to the hospital to accompany her. She doesn't want to see me, you have to look even if you don't want to. You are the father of the child. You have the right to take care of her. It's her business that she hates you, but you have to do your duty. Oh Ming, get up. Li Xiqing roughly lifted him up. He was a man of about 6 feet tall. Seeing the large bloodstain on the bed, Oh Ming looked away and then went to the cloakroom to get his clothes. Xiqing was right. It was her business that she hated him, but he must do his duty. Oh Ming wiped his face with a wet tissue, looked at himself in the mirror, and suddenly grinned. Every time, when he was helpless, Siqing could always say something inexplicably encouraging. How could Oh Ming have such a good friend and brother? No matter what happened in the future, he would recognize this brother for a lifetime. Oh Ming thought silently while unbuttoning his shirt. However, just before he finished, he heard Li Siqing's cell phone ring. Li Siqing picked up the phone and saw it was Li Jinnan. There was heavy breathing over the phone, and Li Jinnan's voice was a little anxious. At the same time, there was the sound of a sports car engine starting. Brother, sister-in-law has been kidnapped. Come back. Li Siqing's heart skipped a beat. Shocked, he immediately rushed out of the door and ran out. Oh Ming was startled by his sudden movement. Where are you going? There was no response. Su Qianxi watched the Bugatti leave and then went inside with Shuangyu. However, suddenly, Shuangyu's eyes narrowed. She looked alert and directly punched in the direction of Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi was shocked and exclaimed. Then she heard a muffled sound behind her. A short man was punched down by Shuangyu, and Su Qianxi looked over in shock. Shuangyu subdued the short man, but when she looked up, her face changed, and she roared. The two bodyguards guarding the door heard the commotion and immediately came to help. Su Qianxi was shocked and was about to look back, but then her hand was suddenly caught. A strong arm wrapped around her neck, and a cold touch was pressed against her neck. Come here and I'll kill her. The voice was cold and harsh. It sounded rough and familiar. Tang Jianghu. Su Qianxi stiffened her neck and did not dare to move. However, her body could not stop trembling, her breathing was rapid, and her heart was racing. Shuangyu and the two bodyguards immediately stopped their movements and looked at the 5 men walking forward behind Tang Jianghu. Each of them was holding a long steel pipe, and their faces changed dramatically. At this time, Su Qianxi calmed down and said, "Don't be impulsive. If anything happens to me, he will not let you go." Tang Jianghu grinned and ignored her. Looking at the bodyguards, he said, "Such obedient dogs. Tell Li Siqing to come to the abandoned warehouse in the eastern suburbs alone. If there are too many people, there will be consequences." Chapter 5:10. Shuangyu was so anxious that she almost cried. She immediately ran toward the door of the Li family, banging on the door and ringing the doorbell. Li Jinnan was just about to go out, shaking the car key in his hand. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Shuangyu's appearance and raised an eyebrow. What's wrong? Shuangyu could not say a word. She hurriedly gestured and pointed to the direction of Tang Jianghu's car. Li Jinnan looked at her gesticulating and thought it was fun. He crossed his arms and laughed with great interest, even though he didn't understand a word of what she was saying. Shuangyu was so anxious that she stamped her feet and made a phone gesture to him. Li Jinnan handed the phone to her, and Shuangyu's fingers quickly typed, "My wife was kidnapped." Li Jinnan was shocked, and his face suddenly changed. Then Shuangyu typed, "Let Mr. Li go to the abandoned warehouse in the eastern suburbs alone, or he will bear the consequences." Bastard. Li Jinnan immediately snatched the phone back and rushed out to drive. Shuangyu also followed, pointing to herself to indicate that she could help. Li Jinnan opened the door of the passenger seat. After she got in the car, the yellow Porsche suddenly rushed forward and rushed in the direction that Shuangyu pointed. Su Qianxi was taken into the car. Feeling the knife on her neck, her heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out. But despite the fear in her heart, Su Qianxi was unexpectedly calm. Tang Jianghu finally let go. Su Qianxi looked at Tang Jianghu sitting on the side, shrinking to the corner, hands twisted together, and asked calmly, "What do you want to do?" Tang Jianghu glanced at her and sneered. "Don't worry, I will not punish you. I will give you to Tang Menjing later and let her play with you." "Ha! Happy?" Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat, and her back was against the door. Thinking of Tang Menjing's hysterical and crazy posture in the hospital, she couldn't help but feel scared. That woman's mind had long been abnormal. Even her own child could fall like that. After being sentenced to imprisonment, she was transferred to a mental hospital. Now, what would she do with her? Su Qianxi's heart was shocked and unconsciously trembled. Tang Jianghao looked at her. She was obviously scared to death, but she pretended to be calm and acted as if nothing had happened. He only wanted to laugh in his heart. The car drove steadily in the direction of the eastern suburbs, but suddenly, Tang Jianghao saw a yellow Porsche speeding up behind them, and the person sitting in the driver's seat was the third child of the Li family, Li Jinnan. Tisk, tsk, tsk. The children of the Li family are all good, but why are they so impulsive? Tang Jianghao looked regretful. I've already said that only Li Xiqing is allowed to come. What is Li Jinnan doing here? Tell me, aren't they forcing me to kill the hostages? Huh? As Tang Jianghao spoke, he waved the sharp dagger in his hand in front of Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi shivered and leaned against the door. Her heart was beating so fast that she could not feel it. Biting her lower lip, Su Qianxi's eyes were slightly red, but she clung to the door and did not dare to move. Ha 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 ha. Tang Jianghao laughed happily, took back the dagger and said, I'm just scaring you. I still need Li Xiqing to do things for me. If I kill you, won't that guy kill me? Chapter 5:11. Yes. The man responded, then turned the car and ran a green light. The pedestrians on the side of the road were scared and fled. The traffic policeman whistled hard, furious. Li Jinnan was about to follow, but the traffic policeman suddenly rushed up, waved at him, and whistled a warning. Turning the steering wheel, Li Jinnan slammed on the brake. The car in front of him had already driven far away. Tang Jianghao turned around and even waved at him with a smug smile. F***ck. Li Jinnan slammed the steering wheel, almost going crazy. Ignoring the traffic policeman's beating on the window, Li Jinnan picked up the phone and called Li Xiqing. Brother, sister-in-law has been kidnapped. Come back. After telling the location and the request, Li Jinnan was asked to get out of the car by the traffic policeman. Li Xiqing went downstairs, ignoring Ming's yelling. After driving out of the car, he drove the car to the highest speed and went straight to the abandoned warehouse in the eastern suburbs. When he arrived, it was already half dark. And just at the door of the warehouse, a man was standing, smoking a cigarette. Seeing Li Xiqing's car coming, he whistled. It's really Li Xiqing. Even the car he drives is different. Where is she? What's the hurry? Isn't she inside? Don't worry, your wife and children are still fine. Come on, be a good boy and come in with me. The man waved at Li Xiqing, whistled, and stepped back with a playful look. It looked like he was flirting with a little puppy. Li Xiqing clenched his fists, and his face, which was already cold and indifferent, became even more tense. Walking in, the man laughed and said, Good dog, come on, I'll give you a meat bone. As he spoke, he actually threw a lunchbox over. A pig bone rolled out with rice grains on it. Li Xiqing's cold eyes glanced at him. The man suddenly felt a chill, but he looked even more arrogant. What the F***ck are you staring at? What about her? Li Xiqing repeated. His voice was so cold that it sounded like ice was falling off. Oh my, such a bad temper. If I didn't know better, I would think I was in your office. Tang Jianghao's voice came out, looking slightly fat. Looking at Li Xiqing, he sneered, What? Are you used to being a big boss? Can't stand being treated like a puppy all of a sudden? Just behind Tang Jianghao, Tang Menjing also walked out. She was wearing a tight black leather outfit, and her hair was permed into sexy big wavy curls. Her face was exquisitely made up, which made her already beautiful and coquettish facial features even more exquisite and moving. Especially her lips, which were bright red and dazzling. Brother Xiqing, you're finally here. I've missed you so much. Tang Menjing smiled. Although she said so, there was no longer any infatuation on her face. All that was left was indifference. You are here for me, aren't you? Li Xiqing looked at her, did not speak, and narrowed his eyes. In that pair of eyes that were as deep as an ancient well, the dangerous and threatening atmosphere was overflowing. Obviously, he was angry. Tang Menjing smiled and clapped her hands. Just inside the room, there came the sound of stumbling footsteps. Chapter 5:12. What do you want to do? Li Xiqing's voice was unexpectedly calm. Looking at them indifferently, Li Xiqing clenched his fists. However, as soon as he said that, he heard a strong sound behind him. Li Xiqing was instantly alerted and dodged sideways. The next moment, he had already grabbed the hand of the attacker and twisted it. The attacker screamed and then took the steel pipe away. Clap, clap, clap. Tang Zhenghao clapped and said with a smile, "Nice move." Tang Menjing suddenly turned around and picked up a steel pipe. Patting it in her palm, she chuckled and pointed it at Su Qianxi's belly. Li Xiqing was scared and roared, "Don't you dare!" Swoosh! Another sound came from behind him. This time, Li Xiqing did not have time to dodge. His hand holding the steel pipe was hit hard. Feeling the pain, Li Xiqing's hand moved out of inertia, and the steel pipe fell to the ground. Ah! No! Su Qianxi's heart trembled fiercely. Seeing his hand instantly red and swollen and blue, she burst into tears and screamed. Li Xiqing subconsciously wanted to fight back, but he heard Tang Menjing's gentle voice. "Brother Xiqing, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. As long as you avoid it, or you fight back, I will take the blame on her." Then, she laughed, as sweet as a bell, but at this moment, it was the most vicious voice. She said, "Say, if I hit with this stick." Then, she pointed the steel pipe at Su Qianxi's belly, smiling. Su Qianxi looked at the steel pipe and closed her legs, shaking terribly. "Don't you dare." Li Xiqing's face turned red and he roared. Tang Menjing raised an eyebrow. "I even dare to kill my own son, let alone someone else's son. What a pity. I heard that they are twins. Both of them are very healthy. If this stick were to hit them." Ah! Li Xiqing's leg was hit hard, and the pain suddenly spread all over his body. He screamed unconsciously and knelt on the ground. "Go, go." She burst into tears. "Li Xiqing." The voice was sharp and desperate. Hearing it, Li Xiqing's heart suddenly trembled and ached. "Don't cry. I'm fine, ugh." Before he could finish his words, his back was struck once more. Ah! She struggled hard, but the person behind her was so strong that no matter how hard she struggled, he would not let her go. Seeing more and more blood on his body, she was overwhelmed with despair and fear. "Don't hit him, don't." The perpetrator laughed coldly and swung the steel pipe down with great force, ruthlessly swinging it at his legs, followed by his hands, back, and waist. Not a single part of his body was spared. Li Xiqing bore it silently and looked in her direction. All that was left in his ears was the whooshing sound of the steel pipes cutting through the air, the muffled sound of them landing on his body, and the occasional sound of bones being broken. Her voice was getting farther and farther away, and her figure was becoming more and more blurred. Li Xiqing. Her voice seemed to reach his ears. Li Xiqing struggled to raise his hand, trying to smile, but a gust of air rushed up from somewhere in his body and went straight to his throat. Li Xiqing could not help coughing violently and vomited a mouthful of sticky blood. Chapter 5:13. When he came out of the forum, it was already dark. Rong Haiyue looked at the time. It was already past 7 in the evening. He had an appointment with Li Xiqing for dinner at 8, and there were still 5 minutes left. Rong Xian followed behind Rong Haiyue and called, "Rong Haiyue." "Yes?" Rong Haiyue responded quietly. His attitude toward her was very different from before. In the past month, Rong Xian and he had only met a few times at home. When they saw each other, they were not even in the mood to greet each other, let alone quarrel. To be honest, Rong Haiyue thought that she would definitely ask for a divorce. However, unexpectedly, she did not. When he left home this morning, he did not know what was wrong with Rong Xian. She actually asked to come to Kingstown with him. Rong Haiyue was surprised, but he did not refuse. He asked someone to book an extra ticket, and the two got on the plane to Kingstown together. When they arrived in Kingstown, it was already noon. They had been attending the forum until now. Now, she was probably here to complain. Rong Haiyue's heart was cold, but he did not speak first. A pair of sharp eagle eyes looked at her, raised his eyebrows, and waited for her to speak first. You have an appointment with Li Xicheng? Yes. This time you came to Kingstown to meet them? Of course, she was referring to Li Xicheng and Su Qianxi. Rong Haiyue put his hand in his coat pocket and nodded without hesitation. Yes. Take me with you. Rong Xian looked at him. I want to see her. You need to ask Su Qianxi about this. I will call them. Rong Haiyue's cell phone was already ready. At this time, he directly clicked on the screen and dialed the number. However, Su Qianxi's cell phone could not be reached, and Li Xicheng's cell phone was also not picked up. Suddenly, Rong Haiyue seemed to see a familiar shadow. It was a slender figure, wearing a pink cap, with long curly hair, wearing a loose long coat and a pair of black high heels. She lowered her head and wore a mask as she went into the darkness. That was Anna. However, shouldn't she be in London at this time? Why was he in Kingstown? Rong Haiyue followed her in confusion. From a distance, he saw Rong Anna walking on the road quickly. He picked up the phone and dialed her number. The slender figure was a little far away from him. Rong Haiyue did not hear the ringtone, but the ringtone sounded. The girl in front of him also picked up the phone. Hello, Dad? Anna, where are you? Rong Anna was obviously a little surprised and said, I'm in London, on tour with Xiao. I'll be back in a few days. Oh. I see. Well, what's the matter, Dad? The cute voice seemed to be no different from the usual Rong Anna. Rong Haiyue looked at the figure in front of him, was silent for a moment, and said, It's okay. Come back early. Without you at home, I don't even have someone to talk to. Rong Xian heard Rong Haiyue's words and tightened her grip on her bag. Rong Haiyue did not notice it. He only heard Rong Anna giggling and said, Soon, don't miss me too much, Muah. Okay, bye. Chapter 5:14. There was no doubt that this person was Rong Anna. Rong Haiyue looked at the figure, and a bit of disappointment flashed in his sharp eagle eyes. At the same time, Rong Haiyue couldn't help but think of what Li Xicheng had said some time ago. Rong Anna and Bo Xiao were likely to be the people who attacked Su Qianxi that day. Because they were afraid that Su Qianxi would recognize them, they chose to kill her in the capital. Now, were they coming to retaliate against Su Qianxi again? Rong Anna hung up the phone, walked to a black car, opened the door, and got in. The car quickly started and drove toward the highway not far away. Rong Haiyue strode up and stopped a taxi. Follow the black car in front. Rong Xian quickly followed, and Rong Haiyue remembered that Rong Xian was still next to him. Seeing the obvious astonishment in Rong Haiyue's eyes, Rong Xian looked calm and sat in the car. The taxi followed the black car, and at Rong Haiyue's request, it always kept a distance from them. Later, the route of the black car became more and more deviated, and Rong Haiyue vigilantly asked the driver to slow down so as not to be discovered. After about 5 or 6 minutes, Rong Haiyue saw the black car again. After paying the fare and getting out of the car, Rong Haiyue found that this was a suburb. Not far from the car was an abandoned building. All kinds of waste machinery were piled up together, some high. The smell of gasoline and machinery mixed together, a bit unpleasant. Looking into the distance, Rong Haiyue saw a faint light inside. Rong Xian had never encountered such a scene. Seeing Rong Haiyue's cautious look, she couldn't help but ask, What are you doing? Rong Haiyue's sharp eagle eyes flashed, and he gave the phone to Rong Xian. If Li Xiqing calls, you tell him that I am busy and may not be able to arrive. Then, don't go in. It is likely to be a criminal gang. Our adopted daughter, Rong Anna, and Bo Xiao are likely to be one of them. Rong Xian was shocked, covering her mouth and looking at him. Call the police first. Don't come in if there is nothing. I will go in and see. Rong Xian nodded, standing outside and said, okay. Rong Haiyue turned and was about to go in when Rong Xian stopped him. Rong Haiyue. Yes? Rong Haiyue turned around and asked, what's wrong? Rong Xian looked at him for a long time before saying in a low voice, be careful. Hearing this, Rong Haiyue was slightly stunned. Immediately, the heartstrings in his heart, which had calmed down for more than a month, were suddenly plucked again, shaking fiercely for a long time. Rong Xian took a small step back. Her expression could not be seen in the darkness. She whispered, are you still not going? Rong Haiyue chuckled, nodded, and walked inside. Rong Xian's heart was pounding. She didn't seem to hate him that much anymore. Ever since that slap, ever since he almost killed her, Rong Xian's lips curled into a self-deprecating smile. In the darkness, she muttered to herself, Rong Xian, you're so cheap. Su Qianxi was firmly imprisoned, crying so hard that her throat was almost split open, but no one moved or paid any attention. On the contrary, because of her crying, those people laughed even more proudly. Chapter 5:15. No more fighting, finally no more fighting. She cried so hard that she felt weak. Looking at Li Xiqing lying in a pool of blood, she felt like she had been cut into pieces. Why? Why did she do that to him? It was all because of her that Li Xiqing became like this. That was Li Xiqing. In her previous lifetime, he had made a name for himself in the business world. How many people wanted to deal with him? How many people wanted to defeat him? However, at that time, Li Xiqing was so strong that he had no weaknesses. If it were not for her, thinking of this, Su Qianxi could not stop her tears. I'm sorry, Li Xiqing was now in a semi-conscious state. He vaguely heard Su Qianxi's apology. He looked up and wanted to say something, but he coughed and spat out blood again. Tang Menjing slowly walked over, her every step elegant. Slowly, she squatted in front of Li Xiqing, her eyes full of pity and face full of sadness. However, she had a crazy laugh. What's so good about this woman? Is she worth it? Li Xiqing, is it painful to be beaten like this? It must be very painful, haha. As long as you beg me, I can save you now. Li Xiqing heard that and chuckled, his voice weak. Beg you? Yes, I can make you recover and live a healthy life. When you are well, you can divorce that bitch Su Qianxi and ask her to abort the child. If you like children, I can give birth to them for you. I have given birth to them before. My children will definitely be 100 times better than Su Qianxi's children. Tang Menjing grabbed his hair, lifted his head, and said with a smile, to be honest, I also like children. We can have many, okay? Li Xiqing closed his eyes and laughed even louder. Tang Menjing let go of him, arched an eyebrow, and whistled. It seems that you failed. Brother Xiqing, what's wrong with me? You used to say that I am beautiful and sensible. Whoever marries me will be very happy. But why don't you want to be a happy man? You have to push me away. Sad, really sad. Now, you are not only hurting me, but also your wife, your children, and your twins. Hee hee. Hee hee hee. Tang Menjing smiled and walked up to Su Qianxi. Gently touching Su Qianxi's face, she said, your skin is so good. 21, right? Her face is really full of collagen, young and beautiful. Don't touch her. Li Xiqing said with difficulty. He coughed up another mouthful of blood and blacked out. Tang Menjing immediately withdrew her hand, looking scared. I won't touch her. I don't dare. Ha ha ha. With that, he strode to the back and shouted, "Hey, time to work." As soon as Tang Menjing said that, two men walked out of the room with two big bottles in their hands. Looking at Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi, they sneered and opened the lids. Chapter 5:16. The strong smell of gasoline spread throughout the warehouse. Several men poured 4 barrels of gasoline around the abandoned warehouse. When Rong Anna and Bo Xiao went in, they saw Li Xiqing lying in a pool of blood. Embarrassed and bloody. Li Xiqing's arrogance was nowhere to be seen. Seeing this, Rong Anna frowned and looked at Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi's emotions had collapsed, and there was only Li Xiqing in her eyes. Tang Menjing took out a lighter and played with it on her fingers, looking at the expression on Li Xiqing's face expectantly. Sure enough, there was finally a trace of emotion on Li Xiqing's face. He looked up at her and reached out to her. Tang Menjing raised her eyebrows with satisfaction, chuckled, and said, "You want to talk to me? What do you want to say? Go ahead." Stepping on high heels, she went forward and squatted down to listen. "Let her go." Li Xiqing's voice was weak but clear, with a bit of pleading. "She and the child are innocent. If you have any hatred, take it out on me. Don't touch her." Seeing Li Xiqing like this, Tang Zhenghao was very proud. He laughed out loud and said, "Li Xiqing, you deserve this. It's a pity that I did not bring Li Xiao here. Otherwise, it would be wonderful. I will let you die with your father." "Wow, do you think Li Sun will cry?" "Ha ha ha. However, if I can kill you, it will be enough for the Li family. Next, it will be Li Xiao, Li Jinan, Li Beixing, Li Sun, and that bitch Qin Shuhua." Speaking of Qin Shuhua, the anger in Tang Zhenghao's heart overflowed. He strode to Li Xiqing's side and kicked him hard. Li Xiqing groaned. Tang Zhenghao kicked him several times in a row, making Li Xiqing convulse in pain. At the same time, Rong Haiyue carefully walked forward. Although he was a little far away, he soon heard the hysterical shouting inside. "No, I beg you. Don't hit me. If you keep hitting me, I will die. I will really die." Ah, Rong Haiyue was shocked. That was Su Qianxi's voice. Hearing Su Qianxi's cry, Tang Zhenghao felt comfortable. He pulled Li Xiqing's hair up and made him look at Su Qianxi, smiling wickedly. "Comfortable? Back then, when your mother killed my son, it must have been this comfortable." Then, Tang Zhenghao grabbed Li Xiqing's head and slammed it against the ground, shouting, "Why? F***ck you bitch. Why did my son fall down the mountain with you? You didn't die, but my son died? Why? Why?" Li Xiqing's head hit the ground, making a loud noise. Su Qianxi felt that her heart was also bleeding. Watching him being tortured was more painful than torturing herself. She closed her eyes, and tears fell silently. Despair, despair, no one came to save them, no one. Could it be that they could only wait for death? However, he suddenly heard Tang Zhenghao's scream. The voice came very suddenly, and was completely out of place in the overwhelming situation just now. Then, Tang Menjing exclaimed, "Dad." At the same time, Rong Anna also said, "Dad?" Chapter 5:17. Just. Rong Haiyue? How could he suddenly appear? Su Qianxi felt like she was dreaming. Looking at him, she quickly screamed, "Mr. Rong, go. Dangerous, too dangerous." This time, it was not like last time when Mrs. Tang had a few gangsters. This time, it was a drug gang, and they had more than one gun. Rong Haiyue heard Su Qianxi's cry and turned his head, but it was because of this that he was attacked by Tang Zhenghao. Tang Zhenghao was middle-aged and fat. When he was young, he was also in the army, and his strength was definitely not small. At this moment, Rong Haiyue was pressed to the ground, and his fat hand grabbed his neck. He picked up the steel pipe next to him and was about to swing it at Rong Haiyue. "Don't touch my father!" Rong Anna shouted, but Tang Zhenghao did not stop. He directly swung his thick arm straight at Rong Haiyue's head. Rong Haiyue was a major general after all. At this moment, seeing this, he raised his knee and wanted to push him away. However, Tang Zhenghao's weight was actually heavier than he thought. His neck was grabbed, and Rong Haiyue's face turned red. He bent his elbow and hit Tang Zhenghao's head. Tang Zhenghao was pushed up, and his movement was slightly off. With a strong push, Tang Zhenghao lifted the steel pipe in his hand again, ready to hit Rong Haiyue's head. Swoosh! The originally loud gunshot, under the silencer, became a subtle sound of breaking wind. Rong Haiyue clearly heard the sound of flesh being pierced. He was shocked and looked up, only to see Tang Zhenghao's eyes wide open and his body stiff. Then, Tang Zhenghao's body fell straight forward, steadily pressing on Rong Haiyue's body. The steel pipe that was originally held in his hand also fell to the ground in an instant, making a clattering sound. Blood flowed down Tang Zhenghao's neck to Rong Haiyue's body, with a warm and moist feeling, clearly into his clothes. Rong Haiyue was shocked. After pushing Tang Zhenghao away, he immediately looked in the direction of Rong Anna. Rong Anna did not move, but the man standing next to her, holding a pistol, his eyes cold and indifferent. He did not panic at all because he had killed someone. Obviously, he was not a newbie. "Ah!" Tang Menjing screamed, "Dad!" With this scream, Rong Haiyue seemed to wake up from a dream and pushed the body away. Tang Zhenghao's body lay on the ground, his eyes wide open, motionless. Tang Menjing hurried to Tang Zhenghao in her high heels, looking incredulous. Standing far away, Su Qianxi was tied up, but seeing this scene, she was paralyzed. Kill, murder. The gun was fired by Bo Shao. He had killed Tang Zhenghao, Rong Anna also exclaimed and shouted in disbelief, "You are crazy. That's Tang Zhenghao. The goods are still with him. He's too annoying and naggy. He beat Li Xiqing like this when we were not here. Who's going to help us now? What an idiot. The goods are still with him?" Rong Haiyue immediately caught the point. He got up and was furious. "Anna." Rong Anna was shocked, and her first reaction was to respond, "Dad, what are you doing? Are you really selling drugs? Did you really go with Bo Shao to do this?" For a moment, Rong Anna did not know how to explain. Suddenly, there was a subtle sound outside. It was the sound of a gun being loaded. Hearing this subtle sound, both Bo Shao and Rong Anna's expressions changed. Who was outside? Dash. Chapter 518. Bo Shao made up his mind and gestured to Rong Anna, and the people behind him immediately understood. One person went forward to check and suddenly stopped, turning around and shouting, "Police! So many police, run!" Both Bo Shao and Rong Anna were shocked. For the first time, several people inside all rushed toward the back door. "Don't even think about leaving." Tang Menjing suddenly yelled, picked up the phone in her hand, lit it, and threw it at the place where the gasoline had been poured. Boom! The fire suddenly sprang up, without warning, unprepared. Scorching waves of air rushed over in an instant, bringing with them the smell of burning ruins and the smell of gasoline. Every place was covered in a layer of orange-red flames. The man finally let go of her. She was caught off guard and collapsed. The man looked at Tang Menjing angrily and shouted, "Crazy, you are crazy. We can't get out like this." Ha ha ha. Tang Menjing laughed almost crazily, holding Tang Zhenghao's body, with tears and cruel laughter. "Why do you want to go out? Don't even think about going out. Aren't you afraid of the police? With such a big fire, the police dare not come in. All of you, die together. Motherf asterisk cur, crazy." The man went up and directly hit Tang Menjing with a stick, hard on her body. Tang Menjing screamed. The man was still angry and kicked her in the back hard. Go, don't hit her. Take her with you. She knows where the goods are. Bo Xiao shouted, but he took Rong Anna and rushed toward the back door. Seeing this, the man cursed, but immediately no longer hesitated. He directly pulled Tang Menjing up and ran toward the back door. Rong Anna, stop! Rong Haiyue roared. Bo Xiao, where are you taking my daughter? Rong Anna slightly paused, turned around, and saw Rong Haiyue's expression. Bo Xiao pulled her and roared, do you really think he is your father? His daughter is there. Who do you think you are? Come with me. Rong Haiyue heard this and his heart sank. How did they know? He clearly did not tell them about this, and he did not reveal anything when he returned home. When did Rong Anna know? When Rong Anna heard Bo Xiao's words, she was moved. She looked at Rong Haiyue and whispered quickly, I'm sorry, Dad. Anna. Rong Haiyue's voice was flustered and scared. Anna. But Rong Anna no longer stayed and rushed straight to the back. Mr. Rong, help. Su Qianxi cried, her eyes full of begging. Her voice was hoarse and choked. Please, save us, who? For a moment, the fire grew fiercer and fiercer, and crackling sounds of explosions could be heard everywhere. This was an abandoned electrical appliance factory. Abandoned machinery and industrial wreckage were the most dangerous. Surrounded by the fire, only the half-dead Li Xicheng, Su Qianxi, and Rong Haiyue were left. Rong Haiyue was disappointed with Rong Anna, but he quickly reacted. He walked toward Su Qianxi and untied her. Just at this moment, the sound of panicked footsteps came from outside. 5 or 6 people filed in. Seeing this scene, someone quickly gave orders. One of you stay behind, the rest go after the criminals. Chapter 5:19. However, she did not dare to touch him, did not dare. There was no place on Li Xicheng's body that was not stained with blood. Just like that, he lay quietly on the ground, even his breathing was very weak. What to do, what to do? Su Qianxi burst into tears. Take him to the hospital, take him to the hospital, hurry up. Rong Haiyue wanted to, but there was nothing he could do. Don't move. The policeman warned, squatted down to check, and announced, there are many fractures on the body. Don't move. If the bones pierce the internal organs, it will not be fun. The fire was getting bigger and bigger, and there was the sound of explosions from time to time. The unpleasant smell of burning machinery kept coming. It's dangerous. Take her away first, Li Xicheng's voice was very weak. Take her out first, please. No, Su Qianxi cried. If we go together. No, I don't want you to die. The child can't live without a father. Please, save him, take him with you, I beg you. Su Qianxi said and even wanted to kneel and kowtow to them. Rong Haiyue quickly held her and forced her to calm down with a pair of sharp eagle eyes. He said word by word, listen, the situation is a bit dangerous now. The fire is too big. If we don't go out now, we won't be able to. Now, I will take you out first. Later, I will carry Li Xicheng out with this policeman, and I promise I will give you a Li Xicheng alive, okay? Really? Su Qianxi wiped her tears and looked at Li Xicheng. Li Xicheng nodded at her. Be good and protect the child first. I will go out later. But, no buts. Rong Haiyue almost roared. If you want him to live, you must get out now. Get out. Only when you get out safely can we have nothing to worry about. Su Qianxi stopped crying and nodded dumbly. However, her eyes still couldn't help looking in the direction of Li Xicheng. Li Xicheng also looked up at her. His usually cold, sharp, and dark eyes were now reflecting the fire. The stars at the bottom of his eyes seemed to have gathered thousands of stars, which was very beautiful. Su Qianxi. His voice was weak. Hearing this, Su Qianxi almost broke down and burst into tears, but she did not dare to. Gritting her teeth, she looked at him. He looked at her, his eyes full of tenderness. He said, "I love you, forever." His heart felt as if something was running away quickly, and he was losing it quickly. So empty, so empty. The fire was very big, and there was a large area of fallen beams and ruins in the surroundings. There was almost no way out. Tang Jianghu was very good at choosing a place. The place where they were just now was the central area of the abandoned factory. They were dozens of meters away from the place where there was no fire. Thick black smoke rushed up, and Su Qianxi almost fainted. She forcefully covered her mouth and nose, but the black smoke was still pervasive, causing her vision to turn black. Rong Haiyue gritted his teeth and whispered, "Hold your breath." Rong Xian stood at the door for a long time, and suddenly there was a car coming from behind. Police car. Several policemen came to her side, quietly asked her a few words, and then left one to look at her. Then they all quietly approached the abandoned factory. Chapter 520. Rong Xian's mind was buzzing, looking at the place shrouded in fire. He was still inside, they were still inside. Her daughter, her husband. Rong Xian's breathing became more and more rapid, and she ran inside. The policewoman who stayed to watch her pulled her and said, "Don't go in. Our people went in, and the people inside will be fine." Yes, with the police, it would be fine. Rong Xian waited for a long time. After what seemed like a few centuries, someone finally walked out from inside. A tall figure, holding a pregnant woman. The pregnant woman's belly was very eye-catching. It seemed that she had fainted. Rong Xian did not care who the pregnant woman was. When she saw the tall figure, she knew it was him. He came out. Rong Xian breathed a sigh of relief and ran forward. Rong Haiyue was exhausted. Seeing Rong Xian, he put her in her arms and said, "Call an ambulance." She fainted. "Child, don't let anything happen to the child." Then he was about to get up and go inside again. Rong Xian was shocked and asked, "Where are you going?" "Li Xiqing is still inside. I must save him." Rong Haiyue finished and had already taken a step. "Such a big fire!" Rong Xian shouted, and there was a bit of fear in her voice. "It's too dangerous." Rong Haiyue stopped and turned around to look at her. She was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that he would die? Thinking of this, Rong Haiyue suddenly smiled, but in a moment, he turned and ran inside. While running, he said happily, "I will come out alive to see you." When Rong Xian heard this, there was an unknown place in the bottom of her heart, quietly scratched, and an unknown fire slowly rose, burned. The policewoman also ran in, and the two figures, one after the other, disappeared in the fire. Rong Xian immediately called an ambulance, but when she was asked for the address, she was speechless for a while. How did she know where it was? She was not familiar with Kingstown at all. Eastern Suburbs, number 8 abandoned factory. A faint voice sounded in her arms, and she said with half-opened eyes. Rong Xian immediately repeated the address, and then called the fire department. In the end, he helped her up and gently patted her face. "Are you okay? Drink some water first." Opening the bottle of mineral water she had drunk, Rong Xian fed it to her mouth. Su Qianxi took 2 sips, but her tears soon fell again. Rong Haiyue went to save him. "Don't worry, he will be fine," Rong Xian said. Although she said so, Rong Xian herself was not sure. The fire was so big that even the sky was red. The black ruins flew into the sky and then disappeared without a trace. A Porsche sports car drove over, and Su Qianxi and Rong Xian looked back at the same time. When Li Jinan saw Rong Xian, he was stunned. "Sister-in-law?" Su Qianxi saw Li Jinan's face, which was quite similar to Li Xiqing's. As if grasping a life-saving straw, she reached out to him and called, "Uncle." Li Jinan immediately came over and supported her. How is it? Where's my brother? Chapter 521. Yes. Li Jinan's tone was firm. Of course, he can. He is Li Xicheng. If he does not come out, the world will be in chaos. He will not dare not to come out. Yes, he was Li Xicheng, and he would not die. He did not dare to die. He had a great responsibility. He was carrying the entire Li group on his shoulders, as well as her and the children, their home. Su Qianxi's heart, because of this sentence of Li Jinan, slightly calmed down. Yes, how could he die? How could he dare to die? No way, no way, I'll go inside. I'll go inside to find him. Boom. Li Jinan's words, only 3 words, were stopped by a strong explosion and swallowed back into his mouth. Fire, from all the exits of the Low factory, burst out, carrying a scorching heat wave, like a burst balloon. In a moment, it turned into a raging fire, straight to the sky. Dyed the clouds red, dyed the sky red, high flames, jumping in the sky, forming a strange big smile, revealing hideous fangs, as if it was proud, as if it was showing off. Look, I swallowed the man you love most. The debris of the wall, the industrial wreckage, suddenly splashed out, hitting their bodies and faces. It was not heavy, not big, not painful. But it pierced the hearts of the 3 of them in an instant. Li Jinan stared, looking at that place, unable to believe it. Ah! Su Qianxi screamed sharply, desperately climbing up in Rong Xian's arms, climbing in that direction. Li Xicheng, Li Xicheng. Li Jinan quickly grabbed her and pulled her back. Rong Xian was also stunned. Hearing Su Qianxi scream, she did not know when her throat had been choked and painful. It was more painful than when Rong Haiyue pinched her. Uncle, let me go, let me go. Su Qianxi's eyes had long been red and swollen. At this moment, looking at the place covered by the fire, in her heart, there was an unspeakable despair, like a cold tide, engulfing her and wrapping her. Unable to struggle free, unable to resist, Li Xicheng. Su Qianxi struggled and looked in that direction. Her crying voice had long been broken. Her throat had long been split open, and it was so dry that smoke was coming out. The pain went straight to her heart, burning, not giving her any room to breathe. So painful, so painful. He must be in more pain. Li Xicheng, Mr. Li, sister-in-law. Li Jinan's voice was hoarse, but he was calmer than usual. He pulled her along and assured her, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Su Qianxi felt like her heart had been slapped. It hurt so much. What should she do? She seemed like she couldn't take it anymore. He felt a weight on his hand. Looking down, she had already passed out with her eyes closed. Rong Haiyue. Rong Xian looked at the sea of fire and rushed forward like crazy. The 8-centimeter pointed heels made Rong Xian fall down after running for 2 steps. Rong Haiyue, Rong Haiyue. Rong Xian's eyes were blurred by tears. She took off her high heels and ran around the back of the warehouse barefoot. It was very hot. The temperature on the ground was so high that Rong Xian could hardly stand. The raging fire had wrapped the entire building tightly. There was no place to go in, and there was no place to go out. No, that won't happen. There must be a way, there must be a place to go out. Chapter 522. Was it just because she lied to him more than 20 years ago, so he was going to lie to her again now? How could it be? How could it be? Rong Xian ran toward the back, her mind blank. The long cheongsam skirt had been rolled up by her. She threw away her coat so that she could run faster. But what about Rong Haiyue? Rong Haiyue? What about him? The abandoned factory was very big, really big. There were glass shards and rusty nails on the ground around them, and Rong Xian's feet were already bloody. Finally, in the back. On the other side of the abandoned factory, in the opposite direction from where they had just stood, there were two people lying. One of them was burning fiercely and was on the verge of death. He was wearing a police uniform, and his long hair had long been burnt to ashes. His body was twitching. But she was not dead yet. The other one, 4 or 5 meters away from the burning policewoman, was smoking slowly, but motionless. Rong Xian's tears fell immediately. She rushed up and turned the man over. Very hot, very hot. Rong Haiyue was burned to a bloody mess, but he was not dead, not dead. Found it, finally found it. Ah. Rong Xian hugged him and couldn't help crying. Rong Haiyue. Rong Haiyue vaguely seemed to hear someone calling him. The voice was so familiar to his bones. Wasn't this the voice of the woman he had been trying to please for more than 20 years? Was she crying? Was she calling his name? Rong Haiyue opened his eyes in a daze and could only see a shadow reflected in the fire. Rong Xian wiped her tears and said, "Wait, I will call someone." Then she carefully put him down, and then thought of something. She used all her strength to drag him out. After a full 10 or 20 meters away from the fire, she stopped. When she walked to the policewoman was still burning. However, she was no longer moving. There was blood flowing out of her head, and it was hideous. Dead, she was burned to death alive. "I'm sorry," Rong Xian said, and then ran back the way she came. Just then, the ambulance and the fire truck had arrived. Rong Xian was ecstatic and shouted, "Help! Someone was still alive, someone was still alive. Help!" Kingstown Morning News. Last night, an abandoned factory in the eastern suburbs of Kingstown caught fire and exploded. According to investigations, this was originally an electrical factory. After being abandoned, the old factory did not recycle some of the waste electrical appliances, which led to the tragedy. The firefighters worked overnight to put out the fire. It wasn't until 5:37 a.m. this morning that the fire was completely extinguished. A policewoman behind the factory was unfortunately killed by the explosion. Another person was seriously injured. No bodies were found at the scene of the explosion. Traces of DNA found at the scene include the former CEO of the Tang Group, now wanted for economic fraud, Mr. Tang, the current captain of the Kingstown Criminal Police Unit 3rd Team, Mr. Xia, and the most respected CEO of the Li Group. Seeing this news, Old Master Li's heart, which had been on tenterhooks all night, was finally confirmed. Lu Sa's breathing suddenly quickened. Seeing this, she hurried over and said, "Old Master, you..." Chapter 523. Seeing this, Lu Sa knew that she could not hide it anymore. The tears that she had finally stopped came again. Captain Li slumped onto the sofa. His eyes were slightly red, and his breathing quickened. "Captain, don't be like this." "Mr. Li, where is Qianqian?" Captain Li's eyes were misty, and he took a deep breath. "Where is Qianqian?" "In the hospital." Mr. Li, and his wife are all there." Very good. "The whole family is hiding it from me." Lu Sa felt guilty. When she was about to explain, she heard Captain Li's weak voice. "Take me there. Qianqian will not be able to handle it." Lu Sa heard that and burst into tears. She said, "Damn it. The two of them are so close. They always hold each other when they go out, and Mr. Li is gone. Mrs. Li, how could she handle it?" As Lu Sa and Captain Li said, Su Qianxi could not handle it at all. Raising her hand and touching her bulging belly, Su Qianxi looked at the ceiling. Her eyes were empty, but her tears could not be stopped. Outside, the doctor was telling Qin Shuhua and Li Xiao in a loud voice, and Su Qianxi heard it clearly. "Be sure to rest well. The baby has symptoms of threatened abortion. It is already so big, and the possibility of twins being born prematurely is very high. It is best to rest well before giving birth. Be sure to control the mood of the pregnant woman." Control the mood of the pregnant woman. Hearing this, Su Qianxi suddenly felt very funny. However, he couldn't smile no matter what. Liar, Li Xiqing was a liar, a big liar. They had agreed that she would protect the baby and herself, and he would come out later. However, why did he not come out? Why not? How could he not come out? How dare he not come out? They had clearly agreed that he would spend every birthday with her in the future. But now, only one had passed. And the wedding he gave her, the honeymoon she wanted, the name he gave the baby, gone, everything was gone. Everything was engulfed in that huge fire. But, wasn't he Li Xiqing? Every time she was wronged, he would come to her side like a god. Every time she was in pain, he would appear. But what about the future? What about the future? What would she do without him? Li Xiqing was so excellent, so cold and arrogant. How could he lie? How could he die? Su Qianxi. I love you forever, the last words he said to her, the last words. Her voice was low and soft, weak but sincere. He looked at her, his eyes as bright as the stars, so beautiful that they almost swallowed her. But he could no longer see it, no longer. She grabbed the blanket and gritted her teeth. She sobbed in a low voice, but did not let herself make a sound. The door of the ward was pushed open, making a slight sound. She immediately covered her head with the quilt, sniffed, and wiped her tears. Seeing this, Qin Shuhua felt even worse. She went up and sat by the bed. Holding Su Qianxi's hand, she said kindly, "If you want to cry, just cry it out." What was the use of crying? If she cried, would he come back? However, his heart was in so much pain that he was about to suffocate. What should she do? She didn't want to live anymore. She also wanted to follow him, and leave together. Dash. Chapter 524. Don't make wild guesses. 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 P.S. Empty chapter, author speech, free. Chapter 525. Su Qianxi covered herself with the quilt, her shoulders shaking. Her heavy and hurried breathing revealed her current state without a doubt. Qin Shuhua covered her mouth, let go of Su Qianxi's hand, got up, and walked out of the ward. As soon as she saw Li Xiao, Qin Shuhua couldn't help crying. Li Xiao, what should we do? Our son, our son. Li Xiao's eyes were also red, and he took out a tissue to wipe her tears. Qin Shuhua squatted down and cried her heart out. When Li Beixing came back, he was still wearing a military green uniform, but he still did not see Li Xiqing's body. At this moment, he was gasping, looking at his parents and brother waiting at the door of the ward. His face was full of disbelief. Walking forward, Li Beixing put his hand on Li Jinnan's shoulder. Li Jinnan took a deep breath, and his eyes were already red. Seeing Li Beixing coming over, he turned around and gave him a big hug. Li Beixing had never seen Li Jinnan like this. His heart was getting emptier and emptier. Looking into the room, he asked, "Sister-in-law is inside?" "Yes." Li Jinnan let go of him, his eyes slightly wet. "Since she came here, she has not made a sound, secretly crying." Li Beixing took a step back, looking at them. The tall and straight military green figure was indescribably majestic. He asked, "Have you seen his body?" "No." Li Jinnan covered his face in pain and sat on the stool. His voice was slightly choked. with a strong sense of self-blame. How can I see a body after such a big explosion? How can there be no body? Isn't there a body? Li Beixing did not want to believe that the high-spirited and decisive Li Xiqing was gone. Are you kidding me? Any of them could die first, but Li Xiqing definitely had the last laugh. He was despicable and shameless. His endurance and perseverance were also extraordinary, and his vitality was even more tenacious. How could he be dead? If he is alive, I want to see him. If he is dead, I absolutely will not believe that he is dead without seeing his body. Li Beixing's voice was sonorous, looking at Li Jinnan. Have you looked for him? Are you sure? Li Jinnan did not speak, nor did he take his hand away. He just covered his face and sat quietly. Suddenly, someone in a police uniform came over. When he saw them, he asked, "Are you Li Xiqing's family?" "I'm the policeman in charge of this case. My surname is Li." Li Jinnan finally looked up at the police officer. "We found a relic that might belong to Mr. Li at the scene. Your family can confirm it." Bang! The door of the ward was suddenly pushed open with great force. After being slammed into the wall, it bounced back. A slender figure trotted over barefoot. Su Qianxi's face was pale, her eyes were red and swollen, and her hair was messy. She looked at what the police officer was holding. That thing was wrapped in a plastic bag. It was burnt black by the fire, and its shape had completely melted. However, from the blurry figure and the small diamond and gem that were burnt to ashes, it could be seen that it was originally a bird-like creature. Seeing it, Su Qianxi's lips trembled, and she grabbed it. He reached out to touch his neck, where he was wearing a noble and elegant swan. The lines were smooth, soft, and delicate. Looking at the gemstone and the diamond, these two should have been a pair. Chapter 526. This was what swans were like. They were loyal to love, to the other half, until death. Su Qianxi's eyes were blurred. She did not want to cry. Li Xiqing was not there. No one would care for her, and no one would help her wipe her tears. She looked down, and big tears fell on the soles of her feet. Su Qianxi found that she had forgotten to wear shoes again. It was really cold. "Li Xiqing, help me bring my shoes over and rub my feet, just like this morning, okay?" No one responded. Su Qianxi's lips twitched, feeling a splitting headache. People around her seemed to be talking, but she could not hear a word. Slowly turning around, she walked toward the bed without saying a word. So tired, so tired. "Honey, hold me. I can't stand still. I'm going to fall." Her vision was getting darker and darker, and her body was getting weaker and weaker. Her legs softened, and she fell straight to the side. In the next few days, Su Qianxi spent all her time in sleep. She had a bad appetite, very bad. She basically relied on fluids to maintain her physical strength. Finally, on the 4th day, she asked to be discharged. Returning to the old house, she fell asleep again. When she woke up again, it was already evening. There was no light in the room, and it was very dark. When Su Qianxi opened her eyes, she immediately saw a tall figure standing by the bed. His figure was straight and he was wearing a suit. He seemed to have sensed that she had woken up and turned to look at her. His eyebrows were like a painting, his facial features were cold and delicate, and his jaw was tight. When he saw her, his eyes slightly curved. Su Qianxi looked at him incredulously and froze for a moment. Li Xiqing's eyes were full of love, looking at her tenderly. Turning around, he walked over slowly, reached out, and rubbed her hair. He smiled and said, "You are getting lazier and lazier." Su Qianxi's eyes were filled with tears. Reaching out, she wanted to touch his hand. However, when her hand just reached out, the handsome figure suddenly disappeared. In the dim light, there was nothing. No one. No Li Xiqing. There was nothing. "Honey." Su Qianxi suddenly got up and reached for the place where he had just stood, but what she caught was only air. Nothing, nothing, nothing at all. Large drops of water fell. Su Qianxi hugged the quilt, hugged her knees, and curled up in the corner of the bed, crying loudly. The door was knocked, but Su Qianxi did not seem to hear it. She covered her head and did not move. The door was quickly opened. The old man walked in with his walking stick and turned on the lights. Luxurious crystal lamps hung high in the sky. Warm yellow light shone down, illuminating everything. Old Master Li slowly walked up, moved the stool by the dressing table, and sat down by the bed. Su Qianxi finally came back to herself, took a tissue to wipe her tears, and called, "Grandpa." Old Master Li looked at her with heartache. His eyes were slightly wet. He nodded and asked kindly, "Shall we eat?" "Grandpa hasn't eaten yet. I'm getting old and can't help being hungry." "I'm not hungry," she said with a hiccup. "How can I not be hungry? I didn't eat last night. I slept in the morning and noon. I have to eat a little." "You're not hungry, but the child is." Chapter 527. How could it be? How could it be? If it were not for these two children, if it were not for these two children, Su Qianxi's eyes dimmed. She stroked her belly and did not speak. "Grandpa is old, and I can't afford to lose anyone. It's best if all of you are alive and well, or bless me to kick my legs when I sleep at night, Grandpa." Su Qianxi interrupted him and sobbed again. "Don't say that." She had lost Li Xicheng, and she could not lose Grandpa. No one could. If even her grandfather was gone, then in this world, she would really have no more relatives. Her beloved Grandpa, her beloved Li Xicheng. Grandpa Li did not speak, looked at her, and said softly, "Come out for dinner. Your good friend is here to see you." "My good friend?" "A young man named Lu. He is polite and well-behaved. I asked him to stay for dinner. When you go out, we can start eating." Grandpa looked at her lovingly and stood up with a smile. "Hurry and wash up. Don't let your good friends see you as a joke." Su Qianxi was a bit dazed and nodded after a long while. When Grandpa went out, he closed the door. Su Qianxi got up and looked at the clothes she was wearing. It was a long-sleeved spring pajamas. Li Xicheng picked it for her. Lifting the quilt and sitting on the edge of the bed, Su Qianxi's feet touched the ground, which was cold. At this time, a pair of big hands would bring her a pair of furry shoes. While helping her put them on, he warned, "Next time, don't kick the shoes under the bed." Su Qianxi whispered with red eyes, squatted down, and took out a pair of shoes from under the bed. She put them on and went into the bathroom. His towel, his toothbrush, his cup, his razor, his aftershave, all of them were there, clean and tidy. Su Qianxi glanced at them and was slightly dazed. But soon, she began to wash up. She had not eaten for a few days, and she did not have much energy. After taking a shower and drying her hair, she walked into the cloakroom and opened the closet, which was full of clothes. 3/4 of them were hers, and only a very small part of them were his. However, when did she have so many? Since when did she have so many clothes? All of them were the latest and most fashionable spring clothes of the season. There were a few that she had worn before, but most of them were brand new, washed, and hung there quietly. She had never even seen them before. She took a floral dress that Li Xicheng had worn for her and put it on. However, she could not zip it up. She then realized that her body had become a bit clumsy. No matter how hard she tried, she could not pull herself up. "I'm just pregnant. It's not like I can't take care of myself. You dress me every day. What if I can't find my own clothes in the future? Then I'll help you wear them until you grow old." His deep and mellow voice seemed to still be ringing in her ears, softly tugging at her heartstrings. Su Qianxi looked at the wardrobe full, and after a long while, she whispered, "Honey, help me pull it up. I can't reach it." However, there was no response. Su Qianxi's heart was terribly empty, and the bursts of pain made her almost breathless. In the future, no one would help her put on clothes or zip her up. No one would suddenly appear when she was helpless and at a loss. No one would say anything or smile. Instead, they would stare at her gently and say, "Honey, let's go home." Chapter 528. The huge room was terrifyingly empty. In the future, she had to rely on herself. Everything she did, she had to rely on herself. Eat by herself, sleep by herself, and shower by herself. No one would warn her to wear shoes when she got out of bed, and no one would warn her not to sneak snacks before going to bed every day. Every day, no one would wake her up, accompany her to eat, buy her clothes. However, could she still live like this? Yes, wasn't it the same in her previous life? No one helped her, no one looked at her, and no one would care about her emotions. At that time, so many years had passed, hadn't it? Now, God just gave it all back to her again. That was all. What right did she have to become so unreasonable and delicate now? It's all your fault. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she refused to fall. You spoiled me and then disappeared. What do you want me to do in the future? What should I do? Her heart ached fiercely, and also fiercely empty. The person who had once lived in her heart had cruelly pulled himself out, leaving her alone to face everything, all alone and helpless. Qianqian? Are you done? Grandpa's voice, with a kind tentative tone. Su Qianxi quickly wiped her tears, tried to make her voice calm, and said, "I'll be right there." After much effort, he finally zipped it up. She simply applied some makeup to make herself look less awkward. After that, she tied up her hair to make herself look more energetic. Patting her face, she finally walked out. The family, Li Sun, Li Xiao, Qin Shuhua, Li Jinnan, and Li Beixing were all there, as well as two outsiders who should not be here, Lu Yihan and Luo Zhan. At the moment when he saw Su Qianxi, under the rimless glasses, a pair of peach blossom eyes flashed with distress and tears. "You've lost weight." His voice was unusually low and hoarse. Luo Zhan noticed that something was wrong with him and elbowed him. Lu Yihan had a smile on his face and called, "Qianqian." Su Qianxi also smiled, but the smile was just a little curve. "Why are you here?" "Look at you." Lu Yihan did not avoid it, and his eyes fell on her belly. "You must have not eaten well recently. You are too thin, even thinner than before you were pregnant. This is not good for the child." Not only did she lose weight, but her eyes were also swollen like walnuts. Although she had put on makeup, she still couldn't hide her paleness. All because of Li Xicheng. Lu Sa quickly brought out the dishes and shouted, "Come and eat. Mr. Lu also cooked something just now. It looks delicious. Come on, second young mistress, I heard that it's your favorite. It's still warm." Hearing that, Su Qianxi was slightly dazed. Lu Yihan sat up from the sofa, walked towards her, and said, "I made spring bamboo shoots, your favorite. Do you remember?" Spring bamboo shoots. She hadn't eaten Lu Yihan's spring bamboo shoots for many years. In the past, when she was poor and had no money to eat, he would always give himself half of his lunch. Later, he simply divided it into 2 portions and brought one for her every day. Lu Yihan was not from a wealthy family and had to rely on himself since he was a child. His life could be said to be very tight. Chapter 529. Thinking of the past, Su Qianxi smiled and nodded. "I like it now too." Lu Yihan's eyes were softer, but he did not linger on her. He said ambiguously, "It seems that preferences will not change all of a sudden." Ahem. Luo Zhan coughed softly and said, "Come on, I'm not an outsider, so I won't stand on ceremony. Uncle, auntie, big brother, third brother, let's eat together." Li Jinnan smiled. "Luo Zhan, I haven't seen you for 2 or 3 years, and you have become more shameless." "Well, it is not the first time we have met. Why are you so polite?" Luo Zhan's smile made the atmosphere a little more lively. Captain Li also smiled and waved at Su Qianxi. He pointed to the seat next to him and said, "Qianqian, come and sit here." Su Qianxi took Louis Han to wash his hands and sat next to Captain Li. Louis Han naturally sat next to Luo Zhan. Today's dishes were dazzling. Many of the dishes were her favorites, but Louis Han cooked more than just a plate of bamboo shoots. There was also eggplant with garlic sauce, shredded pork with mushrooms, fish head tofu soup. A lot of them, all of which were her favorites. She knew at a glance that these were Louis Han's dishes, and they looked completely different from Lu Sa's. She took a sip of the soup, which was very fragrant. The soup was very fresh and white, delicious and sweet. Su Qianxi's eyes were filled with tears, but she quickly shrank them back. She picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of eggplant. Familiar taste, familiar craftsmanship. But obviously, Louis Han's cooking was better than before. Delicious. Su Qianxi's voice was a little choked, but she soon smiled. Louis Han smiled, looking at her with satisfaction in his eyes. Everyone could see the subtle atmosphere, but no one pointed it out. Su Qianxi's appetite was surprisingly good today. She drank 2 bowls of soup and half a bowl of rice. Although he didn't eat much, it was much better than a few days ago. After dinner, Captain Li invited Louis Han to stay for tea. Su Qianxi sat on the sofa in the living room and listened to Louis Han talk about some strange adventures. Su Qianxi was not stupid. She could tell that half of it was true, but she still listened with great interest. In addition, Luo Zhan was rudely teasing her, making her laugh from time to time. Her mood suddenly became a lot better. Li Jinnan and Li Beixing looked at each other from afar and didn't say a word. Li Xiao and Qin Shuhua also saw it, and a sense of crisis rose in their hearts. They looked behind them at the old man who had made all this happen. The old man sighed. "That's it. We can't let Qianqian stay silent all the time. This kid has a good relationship with Qianqian. They've known each other for so long. He should be the person who understands her the best." But Xiqing just left. Qin Shuhua burst into tears. "Dad, this is so unfair to Xiqing." They didn't dare to raise their voices. They were standing a little far from the living room. Captain Li looked in the direction of Su Qianxi and Louis Han and sighed. His voice was a bit sad. "Calligraphy and painting, the one who suffers the most is not you, but Qianqian. You still have a husband and a son. Without Xiqing, Qianqian has nothing." Yes, there was nothing left. What Su Qianxi needed most now was to relax. Otherwise, in the long run, she might not be able to keep the baby in her belly. Chapter 530. About 9:00 in the evening, Luo Zhan received a phone call. It was Oh Ming. "Where are you?" "I am at the old house of the Li family." Luo Zhan looked at the time. "What's wrong?" "Don't go yet. Wait for me." Oh Ming quickly hung up the phone. About 10 minutes later, a black Bentley appeared at the door of the Li family's house. Oh Ming was wearing a burgundy suit. He stepped down, holding the tonic specially bought from Australia. He couldn't help feeling nervous. After standing at the door for a long time, he reached out and pressed the doorbell. The door was quickly opened, and the person who opened the door was Li Jinnan. When Li Jinnan saw Oh Ming, he was shocked. In front of him, Oh Ming had 2 dark circles, bloodshot eyes, and a tired face. He looked a little depressed. But his temperament was still extraordinary, like a prince in distress, and there was a bit of guilt in his eyes. Li Jinnan was very surprised to see Oh Ming like this and called, "Brother Oh? It's so late. Is your sister-in-law here?" "Yes." Li Jinnan opened the door to let him in and walked in. Almost at the same time, 3 pairs of eyes in the living room looked over. When Oh Ming saw Su Qianxi, the guilt in his eyes was even more. He walked over and put the tonics on the coffee table. He called, sister-in-law. Su Qianxi saw a lot of obviously valuable things, and her eyes fell on Ming. She saw that Ming suddenly took a step back and bowed deeply to Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi was shocked, immediately stood up and said, "What are you doing?" "I'm sorry." Ming's voice was full of calmness, but at the same time, there was a strong sense of self-blame. I'm sorry." Luo Zhan and Lu Yihan looked at each other and did not speak. Li Jinnan was a little puzzled and asked, "Why are you apologizing?" Li Beixing stood tall and walked over, also puzzled. Ming did not get up, but the voice of guilt and self-blame quickly came out. "That day, I called Li Xiqing to my place." Su Qianxi listened and pursed her lips. She thought of Li Xiqing's absent-minded look that day. He said, "Something happened to Ming, and I have to go and see." However, after that, he never came back. With tears in her eyes, she looked at him and did not speak. That day, "If it weren't for me, sister-in-law wouldn't have been kidnapped by Tang Jianghu, and second brother wouldn't have been in trouble." Ming's voice was a little choked as he said this. "I'm sorry." Luo Zhan's eyes reddened. He stood up and walked over to Ming. He put his hand on Ming's shoulder. Ming had grown up with Li Xiqing, Li Jinnan, and Li Beixing. But because they were the same age, the two of them had been going to school since kindergarten. Ming and Li Xiqing had grown up together. Luo Zhan had only played with them in high school. These days, because of Li Xiqing, he had been sad for a long time. Even he was like that, let alone Ming. It was not hard to imagine that Li Xiqing's departure was also a big blow to Ming. In the past few days, Ming had visited Su Qianxi in the hospital several times, but she was unconscious. It turned out that Ming wanted to apologize to her in person. Chapter 531. How could unintentional be considered intentional? It was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to defend against a stab in the dark. It was Tang Jianghu who was too despicable and impossible to guard against. It was not Ming's fault, nor was it Li Xiqing's fault. It was her fault. From the beginning, she was the variable of all this. If it were not for her, everything would be fine. Li Xiqing would lead the Li family to become a legend, the Tang family would be fine, and Li Xiqing would not be retaliated against. Everything would develop as it had in her previous lifetime. After seeing the three of them off, Su Qianxi went back to her room and fell asleep. She wanted to dream. "Mr. Li, can you come to my dream for a while? I want to see you." Lying in bed, Su Qianxi felt exhausted. Li Xiqing's pale face seemed to appear in her mind. He was lying on the ground, powerless. However, the pair of eyes that were looking at her were as vast as the stars in the sky, so beautiful that it was suffocating. "I love you, forever, I love you, forever." Life would only be perfect if there were countless regrets pieced together. If one had never been desperate, they would not know how precious today's happiness was. This was the first time Su Qianxi had such a dream. She dreamed that she was standing high in the air, seeing Tang Menjing like a proud peacock, standing next to a small lake a few hundred meters away from the old house, coldly watching the drowning person. After a long time, the person in the water stopped struggling. Tang Menjing sneered and turned around, only to see a tall and straight figure. Li Xiqing looked at her coldly, his face tense. Wearing a dark gray casual coat, his hands in his pockets, he looked at her quietly. Tang Menjing's expression changed dramatically. She hurriedly wanted to explain, but Li Xiqing did not pay attention to her. He slowly stepped into the clear lake. The winter wind was very chilly. Li Xiqing stepped into the lake step by step, took off his coat, and then dove in, pulling the drowning woman out. Su Qianxi was soaked in the water, and the horrible fire scar on her face was shocking. Li Xiqing pushed her body to the lake, soaking her. He immediately put her down by the lake and gave her first aid. Tang Menjing watched all this, her face pale. In the end, she did not come back to life. He gently closed her eyes and looked at Tang Menjing coldly. Police cars surrounded them and blocked the left and right sides of the road. Li Xiqing's hair was still dripping water, but his eyes were colder than the lake water. He said, "You disappoint me." What happened next? Tang Menjing was sent to prison. Tang Zhenghao was found to have close cooperation with the drug trafficking group, and the Tang group completely collapsed. Rong Haiyue was suspected of being involved in drug trafficking and was sentenced to death. The real drug trafficker, Rong Anna, went away with Bo Xiao and continued to sing the song of crime. Li Xiqing, on the other hand, had never married until he was old. Many years later, Li Xiqing was interviewed on a show. The host asked Li Xiqing, who was in his 40s but looked like he was in his early 30s, "Mr. Li, why don't you get married? Everyone thought that you and Miss Tang would get married, and then she was sent to prison. What a pity. Is it because of Miss Tang that you are not married now?" Li Xiqing shook his head, looking indifferent and calm. His eyes contained infinite wisdom and depth, as well as the sharpness of more than 40 years of experience. His eyes softened slightly and he said, "I was married when I was 26. My wife's name was Su Qianxi." "What about her?" "Dead." "Do you love her?" Li Xiqing's eyes were deeper, but he did not speak. Love. Deep love. In another parallel universe, there was another Li Xiqing who loved another Su Qianxi. Very, very much. Give the ending of the previous life. Don't think too much. The male lead did not go back to the previous life, just to give the previous life an ending. Chapter 532. Love. Deep love. In another parallel universe, there was another Li Xiqing who loved another Su Qianxi. Very, very much. The familiar ringtone woke Su Qianxi up from her sleep. When she opened her eyes, it was already dawn. The small alarm clock at the bedside showed 8 a.m. She picked up the phone and saw it was Qingyu. What did Qingyu want? Su Qianxi picked up the phone. "Hello? Madam? I know you may be very sad now, but this matter can't be delayed. Can you come to the company at 2:00 in the afternoon?" The company. Li Xiqing's company. Yes, Li Xiqing was gone, and there was no one to take care of his company. The Li group must be in a mess now, and she actually forgot about this. Sitting up, Su Qianxi listened to her. Yes, since the news of Boss's death came out, the stock market of the Li group has plummeted to an unprecedented low in the past few days. The shareholders are anxious to hold a shareholders meeting and ask for a new president, but Boss holds 55.3% of the shares. He is gone, and you are the first in line. I hope you can come to the company and attend the shareholders meeting at 2:00 in the afternoon. Is that okay? Qingyu did not expect that Boss, such a powerful person, would be gone just like that. In the past few days, Qingyu was almost blind from crying. After working for Boss for so many years, to be fair, Li Xiqing not only valued her but also treated her very well. Even when he was not married, Qingyu had a crush on him. After all, the man standing in the clouds was admired and looked up to by everyone. Although she did not have the guts to hook up with him, it was impossible to say that she had no feelings for him. However, life still had to go on, and she still had to go to work. In the past few days when Boss was away, she had taken care of a lot of things. After all, Qingyu's reputation in the company was second only to Li Xiqing. However, this was not a long-term plan after all. In just a few days, many shareholders had been desperately trying to elect a new president. Some were even more extreme, saying that Li Xiqing would sell his shares and leave. The Li Group was built by Li Xiqing from nothing, from a small company to the current situation, all because of Li Xiqing's painstaking efforts. In any case, Qingyu could not watch the Li Group collapse. However, no matter how capable she was just an assistant. "Okay, I'll be there in the afternoon. I'll wait for you." After hanging up the phone, she came out of the bathroom and saw a few missed calls. The destination was the imperial capital. Was it Ronghai? He seemed to have been seriously injured that day. I wonder how he is now. She called back, and it was quickly picked up. After a few seconds of silence, no one spoke first. After a while, she said, "Qianxi?" The voice belonged to Rong Xian. "What's up?" Rong Xian paused and said, "Rong Haiyue was seriously injured. His skin was severely burned, so he did not go to see you. Now he just woke up." She paused and added, "He has been in a coma for 4 or 5 days." He had been in a coma for 4 to 5 days due to severe burns. Although Su Qianxi did not have much affection for her biological father, hearing such words, she still felt a little uncomfortable. "He wants to see you." Rong Xian's voice was low and sounded uncertain. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.